What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This episode of the Smoking Tire Podcast is brought to you by StockX. And if you like watches like I do, you have to know about StockX. Why? Because StockX is the world's first online stock market of things for high-demand consumer products, including sneakers, watches, and handbags. StockX connects buyers and sellers using the same methodology as the world's stock markets, an anonymous, live bid-ask market. All products are physically authenticated by StockX, allowing participants to focus on the transparency of data available, including real-time market pricing, in-depth market analysis, individual portfolio tracking, historical sales, and volume metrics. That means no stressing about shady buyers and sellers, no lengthy descriptions, and no blurry pictures to decipher. All you have to worry about is finding the watch you want and placing a bid you feel comfortable with. StockX makes buying and selling watches online a lot better. And I will say this, and this is a completely true statement, God's honest truth. I found StockX before they found me, because when I was looking to cop the gold G-Shock that was really tough to find, they had one available on StockX. The retail price was $600. I made an offer of $650, and I bought the watch. He sold it at $650, even though it was listed for $700, right? Then he sent the watch to StockX. I sent my money to StockX. They held both in escrow until the watch was verified authentic. Then the watch came to me. That's how, and then the seller got my money. Now, those watches are trading for more money. I happened to get it at the right time, but that was a good place. I had a good experience. So check it out at StockX.com/smoking. That's StockX.com/smoking. I had a good experience there. Oh, it's the summer. It's the summer. And what's that mean? It means we grilling, folks. We're firing up those mesquite lump charcoals. I got a big green egg at my house. I'm always rocking the big green egg. And, bro, get together with some Omaha Steaks. Enjoy 24 of the butcher's favorites with the Grill Ready collection for summer, $39.99. 24 meats for $39.99. I got my Omaha Steaks in back for the Father's Day promo, and they were delicious. I ate my way through the steaks, the sausages, and the apple pies with the quickness, and then the hamburger patties. I don't make hamburgers that often, but I actually turned the hamburger patties into rice bowls. How California of me to make a rice bowl out of a hamburger patty, but it didn't matter. It was delicious. It showed up ready to throw into the freezer, and then it was easy to thaw out with the vacuum sealing, and it was money. You get all the highest quality cuts, one-of-a-kind flavor. All the beef is USDA inspected for quality and aged for 21 days to unlock the full flavor and tenderness of the cuts. And they even give you the option sometimes to customize cuts for your grilling needs, find recipes, wine pairings, and all that goodness. Right now, Omaha Steaks is giving a limited time offer to our listeners for the summer. Go to omahasteaks.com, type in tire in the search bar. Now that's a little different. It's not Omaha Steaks plus our name. You go to omahasteaks.com, you type tire in the search bar, and you immediately get the Omaha Steaks Grill Ready collection for $39.99. That is 80% off the retail, folks. Here's what you get: 2 filet mignons, 2 top sirloins, 4 boneless pork chops, 4 boneless chicken breasts, 4 all-beef Omaha steak burgers, 4 traditional kielbasa sausages, 4 jumbo franks, 1 Omaha Steak seasoning packet, and 4 of those made from scratch caramel apple tartlets. They're ridiculous, folks. They're all free. They're thrown in for free. Limited time package for $39.99. Go to omahasteaks.com, type tire in the search bar, and add that Grill Ready collection to your cart. Don't wait. You'll want to get this offer soon in time for summer. omahasteaks.com, tire in the search bar. All right. Think of all the weird things that you can find in a car. And I'm not talking about OG candy bars and raisins and little baggies of weird things. I'm talking about live snakes, gold bars, the kind of stuff that just makes you wonder about, folks. Another thing that will make you wonder, but in a good way, are Continental belts. I bet you didn't know they're OE on tens of millions of Chrysler, Dodge, Ford, and GM vehicles that roll off the assembly line. They're also OE on the majority of BMWs and Volkswagens. Now, Continental is launching the aftermarket multi-V belt with the OE pedigree. It's their OE Technology series. Belts that are fanatically engineered for perfect fit, form, and function, and Continental has an OE Technology Series multi-V belt for 98% of the vehicles on the road in the US and Canada. Hey, you get enough surprises working on cars and trucks. A belt shouldn't be one of them. Go with the Continental OE Technology Multi-Series V belt, the belt with the OE pedigree. To get the full story, visit oetechnologyseries.com. Alrighty then. Today on the show, an old friend is stopping by. This man, Mr. Jim Resnick, is a professional automotive journalist, and by that I mean he's one of the old guard. He's been doing it for a long time. I think he said he's been a professional automotive journalist since 1990, which is when I was in third grade. So to say this guy's been around and seen some shit would be an understatement. He's one of my favorite people to share a car with on press launches. He has a great outlook on life and a lot of experience in all different little nuances of the business, both on the PR side and on the journalism side. And so here he is in studio with us, Mr. Jim Resnick. All right, fuckers. Hola. Guten Morgen. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast. Now it's a show. Jim Resnick is in studio. Good morning, sir.
Guten Morgen, ja.
How are you, brother?
I'm damn fine.
For those who don't know Jim, he's a veteran auto writer. He's been around the block. He's sort of the
I've been around all the blocks.
All the blocks, king freelancer. We've been partnered up at a couple of drives. Audi, was there were we Jaguar? Do we do F-Pace?
A3, maybe S3?
And S3 also.
Yeah.
And then maybe a Porsche one or a Jaguar one?
It might have been a Jaguar. I don't think on a Porsche one.
I don't know, but I always enjoy my time in the car with you.
Yeah, same here.
And it's nice to have you here. You rolled up in a 911 GTS, which looks dope.
I did.
Your press car game is tight. Yeah, you left the nose all high.
I know.
Why? Did you just want...
it's not my car.
Is
I
that
want to damage
still
it.
a thing anymore? I remember like the earliest nose lift systems, it was bad to leave them parked pressurized.
Oh,
maybe not for like short periods of time, but like...
I have no idea if this is bad for the car. I figure
it's a press
scraping
car,
the nose
so
off
whatever happens...
Yeah, I figure scraping the nose off the damn thing is worse than...
Totally.
Yeah.
I've actually been impressed, with the exception of the GT3. I've never actually needed to use a nose lift system on a 911.
I only needed really to use it where I'm staying this week, which is way the fuck into Topanga Canyon.
What are you up there for? Do you want just the woods?
That's where I picked to stay.
You just Airbnb-ing it in the canyon? Or are you in a hotel in the canyon?
No, it's a woman's house.
In the canyon?
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of jealous.
Top, you should come.
Do you have a
amazing.
view?
Oh God.
Is it ocean view? Big view?
You can see the ocean. This morning I saw the sun rising, and there was this huge marine layer that had come into the valley.
You can see it kind of move like a river.
It wasn't moving this morning.
Okay, so if you go, there are certain spots in that area, which I'm sure you know. If you go up Topanga and make your way up to Piuma Road, Piuma runs the very top of the ridge in Malibu, and there's a spot where the elevation is like just at the perfect height where you can see the clouds kind of roll over the river and then kind of flow down like a waterfall.
Yeah.
It's so fucking boss, and it's right near where you're staying.
When I lived in San Francisco, I used to drive into the city from up in Marin Friday night to meet my best friend for whatever we were doing in the city. And as we were coming down the hill to the bridge, or I was coming down the hill to the bridge, more often than not, there'd be traffic, and the fog would be rolling at like faster than traffic would ever be rolling. I mean, the fog was rolling at like 40 miles an hour, tumbling down the hill. It was amazing. It's
such a cool thing to watch when you watch, vapor behaving like water. I don't know why that's like to watch things, to watch a solid behave like a liquid, and like that shit outside of its own temperature zone or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, its own milieu,
its own gaseous state is fucking badass.
Yeah,
I love that stuff.
Yeah, it just reminds you how powerful nature is.
Oh, totally. I mean, I live in Venice Beach, and so not a day goes by that someone doesn't ask me what my tsunami plan is, and I'm like super embarrassed. Like I kind of
125.
Yeah, like my plan right now, I have two plans.
because they say when the water like sucks out, what do you have, like 10 minutes or 8 minutes or 6 minutes?
It depends.
A couple minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
Plan 1 is roof.
Yeah.
So my roof is like 30 feet high.
That's not enough.
Of my house. You don't think that's enough?
No.
You don't think 30 feet's enough?
Well, if you judge by what happened in the Pacific side.
If I judge by like what happened in Thailand, I think it would be fine. If you judge by Fukushima, not so much.
Right.
But the other plan is my scooter. Is to just get on my scooter and mob it as far east as I could go. But I don't know how far I could actually get.
How fast is the scooter?
I mean, it goes like 50, 60, but let's not pretend I can just go 60 up Venice Boulevard the whole way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to have to like avoid things. So
Get a
getaway.
really big drone.
yes. Jetpack. Why didn't I think of mounting a jetpack? Elon, help me.
Yeah.
Don't call me a pedophile, but build me a jetpack to escape the tsunami.
Yeah.
My house would be in rubble, and Elon would be like, I've got it, jetpack.
No, do you also, not to switch gears, but you play the drums or guitar?
No, I play guitar.
Oh, okay.
Badly. Why?
Just, equipment getting wrecked in a tsunami.
Oh, my guitar would be donezo.
Yeah.
But it's on the 3rd floor, so maybe it would be okay.
Chance.
Oh, man, everything would be fucking gone.
Yeah.
The whole Venice could not handle a tsunami. Because like in Venice, there used to be canals, like Venice, Italy,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then they paved roads and shit. But
I remember those canals when I lived here. They were
Really?
still around, yeah.
like, I mean, there's still some, where the houses are, but like Windward Circle and all that was like, and that water's still under there. The canals still exist. They're under there. If it's a tsunami, like everything's just gonna disappear.
Imagine how putrid that water is.
Oh my God.
I think I'll be fine because I'm over a hill.
He's on a
another
hill. Yeah, he's lucky. He's got a couple natural barriers.
Yeah.
If that happens, I'm coming to your.
Yeah.
Actually, your house would probably be.
And I have a roof too. Come on over.
Your house would be a good place to go.
I'm safe too. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh, that'll do it.
There aren't any natural disasters in Scottsdale, really, are there?
Oh,
I mean, I
sure there
suppose
are.
the people, but
The politics, but let's not go there.
yeah.
Yeah, there are dust and sandstorms that happen. Haboobs.
Is that like
It's this rolling just morass of sand that comes in.
I think Thaddeus, my friend, was driving back from Phoenix to California.
He probably
and got one of those, and it destroyed the paint on his car.
Yes, it can.
Yeah. Like he got his insurance paid to have his whole car repainted afterwards. Like it looked sandblasted.
Yep. You remember that scene in the Gumball Rally in the Rolls Royce?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. That's called a haboob?
What's called a haboob, yeah.
Is that that a nickname or that's the term?
That's the term. I don't know.
Haboob.
I assume it comes from some
From ha and boobs. I don't know, but I have no idea.
But,
It's got to be a Middle Eastern thing.
Yeah.
That's a Middle Eastern thing.
Yeah, it's got to be
Yeah.
Arabic. But we also have monsoons and
Really?
right now actually I'm in Colorado for the summer. So
You summer.
yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, way
That's
up in the
nice.
But there can be horrendous flash floods.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. In Scottsdale, because it doesn't like absorb, right? It just rains, and just goes everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been there 6 years. I've not seen one yet. Knock wood. But
Knockwood. All right.
So.
Pray for not having that.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we talk about cars? Fuck that. That's boring.
Great.
Let's tell me about you. How did you get started writing about cars?
Well, actually, I started off in life, as an adult. I was a jazz performance major.
Really?
I was a declared jazz performance major in college, and I saw
Any particular instrument?
guitar.
Oh, God.
Actually, back then I was doing guitar and bass.
Okay.
And I started studying upright, and my form was terrible, and I got horrible bursitis. So I put it down for a while. But the reason I didn't go through with it was mostly because I saw all these instructors who were amazing musicians, barely making a living.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine trying to make it in music. That's pretty difficult. Imagine trying to make it in music in a very limited scope art form, which is jazz.
like jazz, yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah.
So I switched gears, got an English major, and started writing.
You picked another really lucrative major.
Two-time winner.
Were you Fender or Gibson?
I love them all.
You love them all?
I worked at Fender though for 3 years.
I saw in your bio you sent me. Yeah. What did you do at Fender?
I was director of communications.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had a bunch of different channels within marketing. and
How cool. So most people think the general knowledge is that an American made Fender is the best one, but some people on the inside tell me the real secret is the Japanese-made ones are the ones to get.
Well, there aren't many Japanese Fenders made now.
You know that place in Miami, in Wrightwood, it's called Walt Grace Vintage? You heard of this place?
No, I don't know it.
Pull it up, Tim. This place it's a car and guitar place, believe it or not. They sell vintage cars and they sell really high-end guitars. The guy was bragging to me that Walt Grace Vintage, he was bragging to me that they were the only Gibson dealer that didn't have to carry a single Epiphone. Apparently that was a thing. So here's it. It's cool. And
Gibson used to have some really bizarre requirements of its dealers.
Right. Yeah, like if you want to carry the good stuff, you have to carry the pink, you have to Toys R Us Epiphone. And there are some good Epiphones, by the way.
And they filed for bankruptcy.
that formula really worked well.
Yeah.
But this is a cool place. But the guy from here is the guy who was telling me that the Japanese ones are the one.
M1, nice.
Yeah, this guy's got some neat cars that go through that place.
Yeah.
What is your opinion from the inside? What country is the best Stratocaster?
Oh God.
Or Telecaster?
It's like a car question. It's almost impossible to answer. The U.S. stuff, the custom shop stuff that Fender does is wonderful. There are a couple of guys who used to work at Fender. A guy named John Sewer who makes brilliant guitars. There's actually a guy based in L.A. Is it Tyler? I think it's Tyler. Wayne Krantz uses them pretty often, who's also a jazz guitarist. Mm-hmm. They're brilliant as well. And there's a lot. I mean, generally speaking, though, the Japanese stuff starting in the mid-'70s, quality was far higher than any of the American stuff of the time.
Well, that was the joke, right? The joke was, if the guy in Corona messed it up, he would throw it in the bin or he'd fix it or whatever. If the guy in Japan messed up, he'd actually have to kill himself. And so the quality was really very good in the Japanese shop guitars.
Yeah.
So what do you prefer playing? Do you have a big collection of guitars at home?
I have a bunch. I don't have anything that's ridiculously valuable.
No, it's not about that. But like what sorry, car people. Like I'm also into guitars, so we're gonna talk about guitars for a few minutes.
We'll get to cars.
We will. But like we never talk about guitars on the show ever. So like, what do you like?
If I'm gigging on in a rock or an R&B gig, I usually bring two guitars. I bring a Strat with a tremolo bar, and then something that has a hardtail, like a Telecaster or maybe even a hollow body.
Oh, okay. 330, like a 335.
Like a 335. I have an old Ibanez 335 alike, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So those. I also have one Telecaster that has two humbuckers, and it can do anything. It doesn't have a tremolo bar, but
do you have anything that's like super custom? Did you get one of those like what's the company that makes like a Carvin or one of those like made to order crazy things?
I have a bass. It's called a Stamba.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's super I
Really? How do you spell that?
Stambaugh. Can
you find me a picture of one of those, Tim? Stamba?
Stamba.
Stambaugh.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a 5-string and has a very funky headstock. It has a big hole in the headstock. So the tuners sort of remind you of an upright bass. But it's a long...
like that?
Sort of like that.
Well, that's a pretty cool looking rig. I like that flame cut wood there. That's lovely.
Sort of like that. Mine's a little darker, but that's pretty much the concept.
Is it kind of a small body, wide neck deal like that? Is that a 6-string?
That's a 6-string.
That's a 6-string bass.
Yeah, mine's a 5-string, and it's an asymmetric neck profile. So if you section the neck, it would be thicker on the bass side and thinner on the treble side.
Oh, interesting.
And it's neck through, so it's one laminated piece of multiple woods.
Oh, look at the middle of the page on the left, Tim. You can see that on the back of it, the neck through the dark wood. Oh, yeah. Left, down. There. Yeah. Look at that. That's fucking cool. That's the view from the back there where you can see that neck piece just going right through the body.
So this also has...
Wow, that's a beautiful piece of wood.
Yeah. That's why that's one of the reasons I love guitars is to see the wood.
Are you involved with the creation? Oh wow, look how it joins the body there. That's totally unlike other guitars. Are you involved in the design process of your thing, or do you just send this dude a check and what he sends you back?
You can be.
Yeah?
I wasn't. I bought this thing second.
Oh, okay.
I was the second owner.
Oh, I wonder what the waiting list is like to get one. What if it's like an old English shotgun where you got to wait 5 years to actually get the thing?
Really long. Really long.
That's super cool.
I don't use it much anymore, but it's a brilliant.
For the home consumer, let's play a little game.
Yeah.
What is the best $500 guitar you think someone could buy at like a Guitar Center?
Probably one of the Mexican-made Fenders.
Okay. What is the best like $1,000 guitar you think someone could get?
There are a few American-made Fenders that are at about $1,000.
I think you could maybe get a American Telly for like $1,100 too, which could be nice. Maybe.
There's when they do American Special Series, which are limited runs of certain features, and they're not very ornate looking or anything. Those are generally under $1,000, and they're made in America.
They're very nice. Yeah. $2,000. Not much difference actually from 1 to 2.
You know, there's a
you
company.
have to go up to like 25, and now you're into Les Pauls and PRSs.
There's a company called Heritage.
Oh yeah, I know Heritage
in Michigan.
Uh-huh.
It was started when Gibson left Michigan for Nashville, and several of the guys who were principals of the operations at the factory in Kalamazoo started this company. Their guitars are wonderful. I have one actually. And they're not that expensive given what they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're fully handmade American Gibson-alike guitars. They can't call them Gibson, obviously, and the headstock design is a little bit different than a Gibson headstock.
But they play like Gibsons,
ish. Yeah.
What do you like Gibson for acoustics? What do you like for acoustics, or do you not play much?
I don't play much acoustic anymore. I have a weird Irish guitar called a Loudon.
I've never heard of a Loudon.
Nylon string. Nylon string
classical guitar.
Well, yes, but I do more Brazilian type stuff on it.
Ooh, funky.
Like bossa nova. I love bossa
cool.
nova.
You have to come sound. Maybe we'll have you record a little bossa nova intro for the next show.
You should have come to that the jam session we had at the LA Auto Show this year with.
I didn't know about this.
Mark Donkey.
I'll come next year.
Put something together. Yeah,
I'll come next year, and maybe I'll bring my guitar, and maybe I'll suck, but I'll bring something worthwhile.
Doesn't matter. Carlos Lago was there.
I love him.
Dan Neal sang, and
Dan Neal has not my new house, my old house. Dan Neal had a key to my house.
Okay.
I love Dan. He has an open invite to be on the show or to stay in my home anytime he's in town, and occasionally he'll take me up on it. But I once woke up to find Dan Neal on my porch, like smoking a joint and playing guitar. Like he had just landed at LAX and just like come over and found my guitar. And I woke up like, that sounds like my guitar. There he was. Like, I fucking love Dan. He's so fun.
In another life, he was a Laurel Canyon soul.
Totally. Or Topanga or something.
Yeah.
And he's also like medium white trash, but he really keeps that beneath.
I didn't know that there was a medium grade of white trash.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. You're medium white trash if you don't have the accent, but you still love Camaros.
I think the more he drinks, the more the accent comes out.
It does come out like that. It does. I'll throw my hat in the for acoustic in the Taylor ring. I'm a Taylor man.
Taylors are very good. They're all very similar, and they're stable, and
that's a fair criticism, actually.
Wrong.
They're all being similar. They all kind of sound like the same.
Yeah,
there's not a huge variation.
Very consistent. The neck profiles generally are more like an electric than an acoustic. That was really the big thing about Taylor.
I love the neck on mine, and I bought my Taylor I have a 314 Grand Concert, and I bought it in 2001 for like $1,200.
Yeah.
When I tell you it has never been serviced, I have never adjusted the truss rod, and I've had maybe 6 sets of strings on it the entire time. The guitar needs nothing.
Has it always been in Southern California?
No, it went from I bought it in Las Vegas. I bought it from the Guitar Center in Las Vegas. I took it to Philadelphia, then to Connecticut, then to Manhattan, and then to California.
Okay.
But I always keep it in the original case.
Yeah.
And if I'm not playing it, it's in the case.
Yeah.
And it is the most stable acoustic guitar I have ever seen. And I don't play that much anymore. I'm a little ashamed of that. But I took it out the other day. The wood has it's reached a real point in its aging where when you open the case, that maple smell rises out, and the guitar. Go back to the pictures of the guitars, Tim. If you still have that page up, did you still have it up, or did you get rid of it?
Yeah, I got it. I got Taylor's.
So so that one right in the middle, down, that, up from there.
One up.
Well, that one. Yeah. So that was it. when I bought it in 2001.
That's a 12-string.
Oh, is it? Well, it's the same body. Just the color is what I'm talking about. That was the color in 2001. Yep. It is now the color of this table.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I will never, ever, ever sell it.
Well, I ask if it had moved a lot because in super dry climates it kills guitars, and being in Arizona now, it's pretty trying because wood, even though this wood, I don't know how old this wood is, but it's still alive. It's still cellular.
Yeah.
It still expands and contracts. And when you have frets, when you have metal in wood, when the wood contracts, the frets stay the same because they're steel. So you have fret sprout. So if you run your fingers up and down the neck, you can slice your fingers. So that's a big thing in a dry climate.
Yeah, I'm impressed that this guitar has been remarkably resistant to climate change. But I'm about once a week. I
and that
sold
climate change would be man-made,
right? Yeah, I sold all my electrics. I used to have like 5 or 6 electrics, and I sold all of them because I just wasn't playing them anymore. But not a month goes by that I don't contemplate buying another one. And Jack Baruth, he's sitting on like 100 guitars right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So at any time, literally any time I want, I could relieve him of one for the friend price.
Yeah.
And he texts me pictures of these crazy custom shop PRSs that I love.
Oh, wow.
I love PRSs. I don't know why, but I love them.
Yeah. I had a PRS years ago, and I just didn't bond with it.
That's a fair. Is a PRS is whereas a Taylor, or not a Taylor, like a Fender and a Gibson is like the Ferrari and the Lamborghini, and a Taylor is the McLaren. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a little antiseptic.
Could be a little antiseptic, but but beyond reproach in terms of how they're made and how they sound and all that stuff.
They're assembled and built with exquisite care. When I was at Fender, Paul Smith would call one of my colleagues fairly often and just shoot the shit. And they were going through a rough patch financially when I was at Fender, and they started talking about Fender absorbing Paul Reed Smith, and he decided not to, which was very smart because
it turned out okay for them, didn't it?
It did.
Are they doing well now financially? It seems like, they're making guitars.
I have no inside information, but I think so. Yeah. But Fender had a pretty poor track record on acquisitions and squandering brands.
What's a good travel guitar? I was thinking about getting a smaller one.
Taylor makes a travel guitar.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
And there's another one. Was it Rain Song? Who makes the carbon guitar? There's a guitar that's made of carbon fiber that is resistant to changes in weather. It may be Rain Song.
I don't think it's Rain Song, but I know the one you're talking about. Well, Ovation's been doing polymer stuff for forever.
Find anything there? There's a carbon guitar. Rain Song. There it is. Rain Song carbon fiber. Cool. Jack Baruth has one. To go back to I refer to Jack on All Matters Guitar because he has so fucking many of them. He travels around hot, cold, rain, dry with this carbon guitar, and it's completely impervious to any weather change, and it never needs any adjusting. It's very cool.
It's funny as long as
it looks awesome, by the way.
As long as I've been doing this, I still have not met him. And
that's so funny.
Yeah.
Like I figured, because how long have you been writing about cars?
Since 1990.
Yeah. You've been around.
Yeah.
What was the first car you ever wrote about?
That I ever wrote about?
Professionally. Do you recall? What was your first press car?
First press car was a Corvette because I was associate editor.
First press car was a Corvette. Holy shit!
Because my first job was associate editor on Vet Magazine. Magazine.
How appropriate.
Yeah.
I always wondered about the people who wrote. I'm subscribed to I think it's called Vantage. It's like the quarterly Aston Martin magazine.
Yeah, sure.
Every issue is exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's the Bond cars. Every fucking issue.
Yeah.
How do you write about one make over and over?
Well, with Corvette, it was actually pretty easy because it had already. The story of how Corvette came to be and motorsports and all these design studies from Bill Mitchell and Harley Earl and it gave you entree to everything GM really.
Yeah.
Because it's related, but. And at that time, NCRS was way big, the National Corvette Restorers Society.
Yeah.
They completely over-restored cars, the cars with original chalk marks on the on the chassis.
I love that. I love when they put the chalk marks on.
I used to joke, does it have original air in the tires? Does it have original fuel in the tank?
Original air in the tires, I love too, because you were like, you can imagine. I always picture Dan Neal doing this, kneeling down next to the tire with a little purge valve and going.
Smells like 1958.
You're really just sniffing that air, and it smells like.
Are you saying that he's familiar with?
It smells like manure and plague.
Part manure, part plague, part acrid.
Oh man,
Yeah.
you're so okay. So yeah, so you're writing about Corvette culture more so than
No, well, the cars, the history, the people. I did a bunch of stories about Dick Gullstrand and Dr. Dick Thompson, who was a famous race car
As a
driver.
racer, right? That's C3s, right? The Dick wasn't that like the late 60s, early 70s?
He started racing in the 50s
Okay,
and
I'm off.
60s.
He was
actually
probably 3 dozen Corvette racers named Dick Thompson.
he was from D.C., Maryland area actually.
Oh, okay. Well,
Originally, but he won like the C Production National or B Production National Championship a bunch of years.
okay. So is it a good experience writing about Corvettes?
My experience there was very good because the publishing company did a bunch of different magazines. All of them were American muscle car and drag racing oriented, and that was not me. I was very much into sports cars, little formula cars, road racing, not drag racing at all.
Did you develop an appreciation for Corvettes?
Certain ones, and a revulsion towards others.
Disdain for others? You didn't like the tuned port injection?
Actually, that was a pretty good motor for the time. The TPI,
Was
the
it?
L98.
I feel like it wasn't. I feel like even then I knew it wasn't very good.
It was clean. It had all the torque you could ever want.
Yeah, but torque is fucking weird. I drove a 87 Callaway twin turbo.
But you have to judge it based on in its era.
I know. I had a DeLorean, so I'm all about judging things in context because all I ever heard was that they're fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean the DeLorean was mostly terrible. I mean, I can accept a DeLorean for what it is.
I only drove a DeLorean once.
But most DeLoreans are fucking horrible, and age hasn't been kind to most of them. Being the sort of value exotic or the value interesting car, a lot of people bought them for cheap and just did the bare minimum. And when they're fully sorted, which costs a ton of money, they're good. Like 5/10 cruisers. Seriously, like it had an okay amount of power once I hot rodded the motor a little bit and took off some of the.
Did it still have that Renault V6?
Yeah, but when you put the right cam in it, and when you port and polish the heads, and when you put the right exhaust on it, it made 200 horsepower and 200 torque.
Really?
And it sounded kind of like a Ferrari Dino. I mean, it really did. It sounded pretty cool. Like. The engine actually wasn't the issue. The issue was the brakes, which were unupgradable. Yeah. And it wasn't good at traffic, and it wasn't good at canyon bombing. And the thing that it is good at in the middle does not exist here in Los Angeles. You only have those two options. Yeah. So anyway, but I drove an 87 Callaway Corvette, which made 570 horsepower.
Oh, so it was
modified a bit. Yeah.
Ton.
But at 4,800 RPM, and the red line was 5,100.
Yep.
It was like a diesel supercar. It was so weird.
When I was at Vet, we tested a bunch of Callaways because we were in New Jersey, and Callaways just in
they're in Connecticut. Yeah.
So we go up there all the time, or Mike Zoner, who was their engineer, would come down with a car, and we took him to the track and did all sorts of stuff with those cars. And the fastest I remember one running was a twin turbo. I think it was a 91 convertible actually with a hardtop on it, but it ran 1251 on regular tires.
On regular tires.
On the stock tires. And now for the time that was.
And what year?
Fast.
That was a 91.
91.
12s in 91 was really fast.
Yes. But, I
think a Ferrari 348 was like in the 14s or something, wasn't it?
But those cars really weren't meant for quarter-mile drag racing.
What was a Cyclone? 13s? High 13s?
Cyclone was probably mid-13s.
Mid-13s, yeah. They were fucking cool.
I mean, they had shitloads of traction.
Yeah, they were cool for 5 minutes.
But they were a barn tour.
Yeah, no, there was... Yeah. But I remember, but it was one of the greatest magazine covers of all time, wasn't it?
The 348.
With the Cyclone and the 348?
Yeah.
Let's take the fastest truck and the slowest sports car.
But you know what my favorite magazine cover of all time was? Car Magazine in England. I forget which generation Golf it was, Golf GTI. but it was a picture of a lemon, and the headline was "Golf loses its balls."
Wow. That's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Who wrote that?
I don't know who wrote it. Probably maybe Gavin Green was the editor back then.
That's a brute. Can you find a picture of that? Golf loses its balls.
Car Magazine, Golf loses
Magazine.
its balls.
Oh man, that's when you Google golf losing balls, all you get is a lot of pictures of people frustratedly golfing.
Yeah. And the other one
sucks when Google search terms really fuck you up. Like they don't understand double meanings.
No, Google takes everything literally.
Yeah, 100% literally. It's like this is such a funny search result. It's just pictures of base model golfs interspersed with frustrated golfers
And a Ducati.
That's very.
What the hell is Ducati doing there?
You're never gonna find that.
Yeah.
Good.
The other one was Automobile Magazine when the TT first launched. Audi shows us its TTs.
I like that. That's
Gene came up with that.
That's like a New York Post headline.
Yeah.
I love that first Audi TT was cool, man.
It was very cool.
I was like a kid when it came out. Was it 2000 maybe 99?
Yes.
I was basically like a senior in high school, and you were like a professional. Sorry, I'm younger than you, but as someone who was just getting to know things about cars, the design details on that car were extremely striking for a normal production car.
Absolutely. The whole Bauhaus thing with Audi back then was just revolutionary.
So, and that baseball glove stitching,
yeah,
someone's got to bring back the baseball glove stitching. That was fucking cool.
I don't know when they last offered that.
In that generation TT. It didn't go on with the next TT.
I think they probably
must have lost so much money on the baseball glove.
Yeah.
There it is. Look at that.
Yeah.
I bet that costs a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
It looks awesome.
And to repair it?
Yeah. I like that, and I like, can you keep going down, Tim? Does that picture go down? I like the rubber. It had one of the coolest shifter boots too. I don't know what it is about a really good shifter boot. It was like rubberized. I just thought that was so neat.
Was it like a
silicone rubber?
Oh.
Yeah, concentric circles. Yeah, see that?
Like the first Federal 911s with the accordion.
Totally. And then with that and the rounded air vents where you could turn the gauges, and man, what a fucking cool car that was. Yeah. That one's got like a little tom-tom stuck in the vent or something. But I love those seats with the baseball glove.
It's a press car. He's got a
credential holder, got the lanyard.
Someone a lazy journalist took that on the press launch. That looks like the kind of picture I would take.
He's straightened the wheel at least.
Yeah. Man, I would. If that would be fucking cool if you could get that. I wonder what.
How
just expensive of a car? Bought one of those?
His wife found it for him. An original old Audi TT.
Who?
Mark Donkey from Audi.
Really?
Visma found this car and presented it to him as a surprise.
I love that this is now old enough that it's like a restored TT. You're almost like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, I'm not down.
These things are going to be baseball glove interior, and the ones with the big Avis wheels and the bigger engine, the 225 horsepower engine, those are going to be moving into ironic cool very fucking soon.
Yeah.
Mark my words.
Yeah. But
the new looking car.
The new one.
Why is it ironic cool?
Well, it's the cycle of cool, right? So a car goes from new cool and then secondhand enthusiast cool,
right,
and then sort of not cool where it stays for a while. And then about 20 years later, it becomes sort of ironic cool, and then it becomes actually cool. That's like the cycle of cool in a car.
It's also, the cars that it competed with new, Boxster, SLK, TT, really the only one that's a real genuine dynamic enthusiast car is the Boxster. These were fine, but car enthusiasts didn't flock to dealerships buying these cars.
No, I remember I was working at a dealership at the time, which is why I knew this thing so well. I moved a ton of them around, and every time I got into one, I was super excited if it had the baseball glove interior.
Oh yeah,
that's the one with the wheels. That's the right color. Gray car, Avis wheels, orange interior. That's the one.
And the flat gray paint.
That's the right color. And we didn't move a lot of them. I remember that they weren't huge sellers.
That's a factory photo too, Ingolstadt.
Press photo.
Yeah.
Fucking Zwart took that shit. But they weren't big sellers. But I feel like the style has really held up of the first gens.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
it's the first time on this show we've ever discussed Audi TTs, I think.
And under the skin, it's really a Golf, so it's very easy to repair.
Yeah, I like it. And first-gen Boxsters kind of suck. I mean, they're not horrible, but they they're really cheap because they're really expensive to fix and they don't go very fast.
Yeah. Do you think that would be different if it didn't have the cultural baggage that goes with those cars?
I don't think it's cultural baggage. I think it is a result of trying to package a mid-engined car, and have a power top and have just shit that goes wrong. I mean, that M96 engine isn't exactly known for durability, is it?
No.
No. Which would be okay and would be worthwhile if it wasn't 200 horsepower. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, at a certain point, it's like, wow.
Wasn't there one less than that, too? There was.
Yeah, the base, the 2.5 was like 185 horsepower or something.
Yeah.
That thing was a dog, man. I remember my friend got a Boxster S when it came out, and it was like, thank God this thing has a little bit of balls. I've been driving the 718. Have you driven the 4-cylinder Porsche yet?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
I don't love the sound.
Yeah.
Everything else is brilliant in that
Fair.
car.
That's fair.
I don't know how long-lived the whole 4-cylinder concept is going to be, though, because the reason to do it, like fuel economy and all this other stuff, you can reach that. You can get there with a 6-cylinder engine, a car that makes a proper noise.
Yeah.
For a Porsche. I drove one from Napa down to back home to Scottsdale, Arizona over 2 days. Long road trip.
A 4-cylinder?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was a 718 GTS.
Uh-huh. I just had that one. This yellow one I had. I had it for the last week. Fucking lovely car.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, you can't approach the handling limits of that car on the street without being a major dunce.
Yeah, I agree. I got the tires to squeal a little bit, but I was pushing it, and I went out with my friend in a GT4, and I went back and forth, and I let my friend with the GT4 drive this, and he came back and went, who makes a turbo for the GT4? that was his first thing. He gets out of the car, he goes, I need a turbo.
Yeah.
Because, we both agreed the GT4 sounds better, obviously, but the gearing, the way that the torque band matches the gearing in the GTS.
Well, that's a big problem with the GT4. It
Right.
has terrible gear. The transmission in the GT4 is terrible.
Yeah, I'm going up
The shifter's
to,
good, but the actual transmission.
what's today, Tuesday? Tomorrow, Wednesday, I'm going to San Francisco. I'm speaking, for those of you listening live, in Sacramento at the California Auto Museum Thursday night, and I'm flying into San Jose, and I'm grabbing Sharky's GT4 that has the new gear set in it. And I'm driving it up to Sacramento.
Wow.
They re-geared 2nd through 6th.
Is it the original transmission, though?
Yeah. They
Okay.
take it out, take it apart, and Guard makes a gear set, and they reassemble it. And they don't really want to promote that they do it because apparently it costs the customer, and don't quote me, like $25,000 to do.
Oh God.
But there's like no margins in it. Because it's the parts are expensive and because it's super labor intensive, they're like, we'll do it, but like we don't want to do it actually, and we don't really want to promote that we do it because like it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Everyone hates doing it,
Well,
and there's no money in it.
There's a reason why guys who rebuild manual transmissions now are in high demand.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, I've tried to rebuild. Have you ever tried to rebuild a manual transmission?
Fuck no.
It is, if you're familiar with the mechanics of everything else in the car.
Yeah.
Leave the transmission alone. Because if you get it even a scintilla wrong, it is fucked.
Dude, I've looked at a gear set sitting on a bench and had an anxiety attack. just looking at it.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea about any of this shit. So, they'll do it. So they put 2nd through 6th is new. So in the regular GT3, the third gear, regular GT4, excuse me.
Yep.
Third gear red line is, I think, 104 miles an hour or 105 miles an hour.
And this is a six-speed transmission.
Yes, in a 6-speed. In Sharky's, it's 60.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very close.
So it fucks your 0 to 60 time all up, but it basically
But it
gives your
drives
Porsche
better.
the gearing of a Miata.
Yeah.
And it's like supposedly just like a manic, fly on acid kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm driving it for 2 days. I was like, I'm doing this gig. Can I borrow the car? He's like, are you going to review it? I'm like, no. I just want to drive. He's like, okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to drive
Sacramento.
that. Yeah.
Is Davey G in town? Because he lives in Sacramento.
Oh, he does?
He lives in Sacramento.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I will have to shoot an email.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's at the California Auto Museum Thursday night from 6:30 to 9.
That should be fun.
So Corvettes,
Yeah.
Corvette magazine.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there?
Let's see. So that was that publishing company was called CSK Publishing. I wrote for all the magazines there, and after that, I
bounced around between the different publications they had.
I wrote for all of them at the same time.
Sort of like the Motor Trend employees do at like Hot Rod, Carcraft, and Super Street. Like a bunch of those guys write for all three.
I think the Motor Trend guys stay pretty close to Motor Trend and Automobile and those, or at least I worked at Peterson. That's where I went after that. But when it was called Peterson, actually I was hired over the phone. A mutual friend gave my name to the editor of Chevy High Performance magazine. He called me on the phone. We spoke for about 20 minutes, and the next phone call was, "Okay, come out. You're hired.
It's fucking awesome.
Here's the salary."
I love that.
Holy shit!
Did you feel like you like tricked, like you were getting fucking played or something? You're like,
no,
what's going on here?
I finally felt appreciated.
Oh, that's nice. I wonder what that feels like.
Oh, come on.
I feel appreciated, though.
I appreciate you, Matt.
Timmy
I appreciate you
appreciates
too,
me.
Jen.
I appreciate
Timmy
you.
appreciates me.
Thank
Timmy
you
only
very much.
appreciates me because he's had my ribs.
Oh man!
I made ribs
Them
over the
some
weekend.
delicious
They were
ribs.
fucking your mom.
Why didn't I get any ribs?
You weren't in town yet. You just got here.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I went to Peterson. I was technical editor on Chevy High Performance, but I also wrote for
As technical editor, what do? Check the numbers, or are you rigging cars with equipment and doing testing?
I didn't do a lot of car building. I did a lot of the technical stories, engine builds, dyno testing, drag racing, and track stuff, and reviewed everything for technical accuracy.
Are you that? Does that match your personality? Really, I don't find you conversationally to be matched to a job like
It
that.
depends on the moment.
Yeah.
I'm Zelig. I'm a chameleon. I can adapt.
I've seen you be racing driver in the car.
I can do that.
I've seen you do racing. You know your way around driving fast for sure.
I can. I play one on TV.
Yeah. Well enough for me to go, oh, this guy's. There's not a lot of people I'm comfortable with at a press launch going like, put me in a car with that person.
Me either.
It's very difficult to find a person that I can spend 4 hours in a car with.
And I always pick the person well before the event.
Yeah, I ask for the list if I can.
Oh yeah, I totally ask.
You don't want to go in there blind. Holy shit.
There are a few guys that I will not drive with. In fact, years ago, he's not alive anymore. Andrei Zakowski from Car and Driver. I was in a press launch with him, and he started driving just bonkers like a lunatic, just taking way too many chances.
Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, I got to take a leak. Pull over here." And I walked around to the driver's door, and I got in his face, and I said, "If you don't stop fucking driving like an idiot, I'm walking back, and you're done." And so
Did he chill?
He chilled after that. However, several months later, maybe a year later, he was in a big accident in France on a Cadillac program. Went off a cliff.
Is that how he died?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he actually had terminal. I don't know if it was cancer or something else. His story is not a happy one.
Oh, well, that's a shame. But go back to the cliff. He went off a cliff.
I think he went off a cliff.
Holy shit!
If I remember it correctly,
Really?
I think he went off a cliff. Yeah.
Wow. That's not a good day.
If any of our compadres are listening already, you feel free to correct me. But I think that's how I remember it.
Wow.
I wasn't there though.
I mean, yeah. Imagine the guy in the car with him on that fucking drive.
Yeah. Anyway, so but I used to race, and I still have a racing license, and I love doing racing stories.
Racing to me at this point, because we're people like us are pretty spoiled in terms of we get to experience a lot of things, even if they're a slightly diluted version of of what the paying customer gets to do. We get to do a pretty close approximation of that for zero, or get paid to do it. So
in a very short period of time.
Yeah, in a short period of time, but nevertheless, we do get to experience it. But there's not a lot of things I'll spend my own money on in cars at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Racing is pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to spend money to go even racing an old Miata in an endurance race with a team that I have to fucking fly to. I'm happy. It's just racing is so fun.
Yeah, and I would agree with you 150% on that, but I would also say that especially when it comes to the prep of the car and safety, I want to make sure that it's done right.
Yeah,
I won't get in a car if I still look over a car before I go out on the track on a proper track.
Yeah.
I look the car over. It's like a pilot. It's like a
sometimes
pilot.
I don't.
Yeah,
I've gone out. I had one time with a BMW Z4 press car, and I took it to Monticello. I drove it around. This is in New York. I drove it around for a week, whatever.
Yeah.
Press car.
Yeah.
I took it to the track, Monticello,
Yeah.
running laps
Yeah.
hard. It was like the S-Drive 35, whatever the fastest one they made once they ditched the M1. Anyway, at the end of the day, we've run our laps. Everything is fine, and we're now doing sunset, video B-roll of the car, and my camera guy's he's zooming in. He's got a tight on the wheels, doing focus pulls, and looks, and the fucking thing only has 2 out of 5 lug studs in it.
Oh, God.
And they're not even lugs and nuts; they're studs.
Yeah.
So when they're gone, there isn't anything there.
Well, they're bolts, right? Because
they're the wheel just goes flush against the hub, and
Yep.
then a bolt goes through it.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
sit on the screws, and then you put a nut in.
because studs would be if they poke out and
I'm sorry. Did I use the opposite terminology?
It's okay. I know what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah, I meant the other way.
The other way.
There was bolts. It
Yeah.
was fucking shady.
Yeah, that's
So I checked the car now. I didn't always. You should. People out there, you should check your car.
you cheated death yet again.
That was a little. I mean, nothing happened, but when you look at that now, you go, "Well, that really could have gone horribly fucking wrong."
Yeah.
Also, the resilience of 2 bolts, not bad. I mean,
Yeah. Plus, well, it's hub centric too. So
it's what?
hub centric. So when the wheel fits onto the hub, in the middle, it's an interference fit. So you could actually put that wheel on the hub, and it'll stay there. It won't permanently stay there, but it aligns everything. So
Oh, you can?
yeah.
Oh, you can.
You can't drive the car that way, but it just
That's how my wheels
just so
are.
that
Oh,
you,
the thing sticks
that
out
everything's-
just enough.
yes.
So yeah. Okay.
So
I
you
thought
can
about that.
you can thread all the
Right.
wheel
Yeah, so you don't have
bolts
to like
properly.
hold it with one hand and put the.
You don't have to hold it from the top and then stick your foot under the bottom.
Yeah.
Do that whole trick. Yeah.
I would probably try it that way. I'm shitty at wrenching.
Be great on the curve.
So from Peterson, then what? Then
Let's see. So yeah, I was doing that. I also wrote for the other magazines. Actually, I did do. This was when Van Toon was editor of Motor Trend. I did a story on some anniversary of Jaguar, and I sent it to him on spec. I saw him in the hallways and functions and stuff like that, and I said I'd really love to do some stuff for you guys. And I sent it to him in your office mail, and he said, "Jim, I love the story, but I can't use it." And at that time, there was a huge rift between what used to be called the Automotive Performance Group, or APG Group, and the Motor Trend Group. And the heads of both divisions, Lee Kelly on the Motor Trend side and John Diana, they were cats and dogs, oil and water.
and Automotive Performance Group was like the specialty magazine.
The Screwdriver books, as we
Okay.
say. Yeah. But so after Peterson, I left to start a magazine called Bimmer at Ross Periodicals up in Northern California, in Novato, actually. And I was also at the same time technical editor of Sports Car International.
So when you go, I want to start a magazine. What do you do? How do you just start a magazine? I literally the nuts and bolts of it. I don't know.
Well, thankfully, I didn't have to really deal with the entire business side of that, because they were also thinking about launching a BMW magazine at the same time I was thinking about it. So I had the editorial plan, and I put together an advertising plan as well. And then I just often ran with it on the editorial side. I didn't do any of the business side.
Oh, okay. Because that seems to me like a tough business to just go, here we are. Let's make a magazine now. Okay.
Well, and this was also before digital. This was in 1996.
Yes, it's literally, printing.
Still print magazines, still, film.
Yeah, right.
But it was a real big success for a niche magazine. And it was successful really quickly. And then I didn't agree with the publisher at the time on his sort of philosophy. Over time, it became clear that he was not of the same mindset that I was. And I got a call out of the blue from a guy named Fred Heiler at Mercedes-Benz. And he said, "Would you ever consider doing PR?" And I said, "No, not really.
That's what I would say.
I'm a writer.
That's what I would say.
I'm an editor."
And then he made you, and then he wrote a number on a piece of paper and slid it across the table.
Well, he said, "Well, just come out and meet with us. Meet with me. Meet with some people here." So I flew out, and it seemed like a very well-run company. It seemed like they really valued their people, and this is still true. That Mercedes-Benz was the best company I ever worked for. So I agreed and relocated back east. At the
What's
time,
it like jumping ship like that? Going from editorial to...
It was far easier than I thought it would be, and I had a lot of friends who were journalists. who said, "Oh, now you're on, welcome, or you're leaving the light side. You're going to the dark side in PR." And my initial impression was that there was plenty of darkness on the editorial side too. So it wasn't that hard. I missed writing. I missed the creative aspect of it because you're not writing in your own voice. If you're writing press materials,
the company voice.
You're writing in the company voice, or maybe it's a partner, maybe it's motorsports. It could be anything. So I wrote a lot of the press material then, from '99 to 2003, I think.
Oh, you'll love my car. I have an 01 SL that I drove here today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I love it. That's my traffic car.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic traffic car.
Does it have the ABC, active body control?
No, it does not. Oh. It's a 500.
Yeah.
Does it? I don't think so.
I think they all had them.
No, not an 01.
The CL and the
No, the
SL.
S did. The SL got the next year. Mine's the boxy one. The last
sorry. Yes.
Yeah, mine is the last of the boxy ones.
Yours is the R129.
R129. Yeah. It's fucking great.
Oh yeah.
It's so cushy and awesome, and
you don't need the V12.
No, the V12 is the biggest waste of money in that car. I was just thinking, it sucks fuel, and according to my man Bozy, who is my go-to for all things technical and this sort of shit, a lot of unique parts that are really expensive
for the V12.
For the V12,
the M120.
Not just the engine, but it has bigger brakes that are more expensive, and different shocks that are more expensive, and all this different shit.
Different rear end,
and a different rear end, and the 500, it's like everything is just off the other cars.
Yeah,
it's all easy stuff.
It's the 3-valve.
Yeah, it's fine, and I've had it for 2 years, and
you've probably done nothing to it.
Not true.
Oh,
but
you've probably done a lot to it.
Neither. So I when I got it, that's it, top left. That's actually my car. So there it is. And that's like 2 days after I bought it, I drove it to San Diego to go to a concert. And I put Rise Against and Deftones.
Okay.
It was good.
Yeah.
I wish there was a little more Rise Against, a little less Deftones, but that's neither here nor there. I did the Euro spring kit, the H&R Euro ride height kit with a new OEM set of Bilsteins. Mm-hmm. And it's great. It sits at the correct height now. That picture is the correct height. Mm-hmm. And then I did a service when I bought it, the B service, which was like $1,000 and had like 55,000 miles on the car. So it was like $1,600 or $1,700 for the shocks and that service and the springs. Then I did nothing after that for a year and a half. Drove it 4,000 miles, and I just did another service. This past like a month ago, and that service was about $850, and it was
fluids, filters.
Yeah, I mean it was basic. It was like a fuel. It was expensive. It was like $1,000 a service, but it was a $300 set of spark plug wires, plugs and wires was involved, and the oil was kind of expensive
because that's a 2-plug per cylinder.
Yeah, so but it wasn't like, honestly though, that's not that bad to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a lot, but it's not completely out of line, I don't think.
Well, that's basically the same motor, just breathed on, that's in I have a daily driver that I drive maybe once a month, which is a 2002 E55.
Oh, yeah.
So it's basically the same motor.
Yeah. It's a fucking lovely car.
Yeah.
And I thought the top stopped working because I had the hard top on it for like a year. And I took it off, and I put the soft top on, and I went, dick, and I was like, fuck. But when I took it to my guy, it turns out something was just a little stuck and nothing was actually broken.
Cool.
So now I have the hard top off.
That would have been a big bill.
It would have been a big bill for sure. That's the one thing that really scares me about that car is if the soft top. The rest of it is so solid. And in fact, on the way over here, because we were talking about the V12 and not needing extra power, I was thinking to myself on the ride over here as I was leaving my house, like, this engine never sees over 2,500 RPM ever in LA. Yeah. And so I was like, today's the day. Italian fucking tune-up day. So I put the car in second, and I drove all the way from my house to this office in second gear. I'm on the 90 in second, fucking banging the rev limiter for like 45 seconds. And I just was like flat to the floor, 3-gear pulls the whole way here. Oh, God. And dude, I was like, holy shit, this car is fast. Yeah. Like I never use anywhere near the power, but if you get on it, like, it's actually pretty quick.
Yeah. That was, what was it, 302 horsepower?
Yeah, but if you actually use the 302 horsepower, it feels like it goes pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
I also put a set of Pilot Super Sport tires on it, which was a good idea.
Yeah.
That, and they have like 0 wear in a year. And then Clarion, so Clarion hooked me up. I wanted to go full 2001 with the stereo. So we have a custom sub enclosure that matches the leather and everything behind the seats. It's fully molded in. You can't see it.
Yeah.
It's like 1,000 watts, speakers with a flip out.
And that's perfect space because there's no back seat in that car.
Right. It's perfect. I said you could do what you want in that shelf, but I need the trunk to be a full trunk so you can fuck with the trunk.
I think actually in Europe they offered an option of rear seat belts.
They did.
But the seats were not even seats. Even in the later
pre-facelift ones, I think.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
But they also did that in the next generation SL as well.
Right, but that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Please. But I really like my SL, and it's been a really, really good car.
And that car has aged really well.
Oh, it looks so good. Wait till you see it outside. You see it sitting there and you go, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of car where you think they're everywhere, and they sort of are.
They're not.
But when you try and find a really good one, it's really hard to. It took me like 5-6 months to find this car.
I think the head of design at Mercedes at the time was Bruno Sacco. This I think is a better. It's held up better than even the large S class of that period.
Yeah, and those have held up nicely.
They've held up nicely. There's a couple of odd proportions sometimes.
The ones
with
the bigger wheels and the matched body work.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You mean the boxy ones?
Yeah, the box.
Yeah.
The 140, which
140.
is
The one before this
one
one.
before
Too.
that one. Yeah.
My dad had one of these, an 01 S500. It was a shit box.
Oh yeah.
It had a lot of problems.
There were
but
problems.
not as much of a shit box as his 2011 BMW 750, which was an unbelievable shit box.
Wow.
It broke every 3 seconds.
On that topic, I was not able to discuss this at the time because I worked at the damn company, but I was there when just after the Daimler Chrysler merger happened, where everyone joked that how do you pronounce that Daimler, the Chrysler is silent.
That's very funny. I never heard that before, but that's whoever wrote that.
I don't remember who wrote that.
That's really good.
It might have been one of the Car and Driver guys.
That sounds like a Brock Yates.
That's the Sacco sedan I was talking about.
And that's the right color there, isn't it? It's just black on black.
Yeah. Now that with just regular AMG wheels.
Yeah, the monoblock,
looks
the good
great.
wheels.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I had a 600. I bought one for $2,500. A 600. My God. Yeah, with a
glutton for punishment.
Dude, it was money. It was so nice. Okay, it ran beautifully. It purred. That's it, Tim. Purred like a kitten.
Oh yeah.
All the stupid power stuff, the power center mirror and the rear seats and all that
Still
shit worked.
Oh my God.
The only thing that was wrong with it, the difference between being $2,000 and like $11,000, which is what a used 600 would go for, first gear was going out. So if you used more than like a quarter throttle in first gear, it would just slip and pop into neutral. Once you got it into second gear, it was fine. So, and it's a fucking V12. So when did you ever use more than like a quarter throttle off the line? Like,
well, so
never.
if you just put it in winter setting, it starts in second gear anyway.
Yeah. So I drove it for like 4 or 5 months like that. It was fucking cool.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
the story,
Daimler Chrysler merger. Very soon after that, Mercedes started having quality problems, JD Power results, and all that sort of stuff.
That would be the 01 my dad had. That was a shit box.
Yeah, and everyone assumed that the Chrysler merger pulled resources away from Mercedes-Benz operations to help plus up Chrysler because Chrysler was in pretty dire straits at the time. But that was not the truth. That's not what actually happened. The quality problems that Mercedes-Benz was experiencing were all self-inflicted.
Really?
It had nothing to do with the Chrysler thing.
Because the general knowledge now, I mean, everyone's pretty much consistent opinion on the topic is that Chrysler dragged Mercedes down.
No.
But you're saying Mercedes scapegoated Chrysler or let people believe that, and that's not actually true?
It wasn't a conscious decision, in
so
Stuttgart.
what was going on at Mercedes? Well, why did it go wrong there?
Portfolio expansion like never before.
So let's see what happened in
Smart,
2000. We had,
Smart
right.
on one end, Maybach on the other end, and Jürgen. Who was the chairman? Not Schremp. I can't remember his name right now. Anyway, he said, there's no brand in the world, there's no company in the world that has the elasticity of Mercedes-Benz. We can do smart on one hand and we can do Maybach on the other. And guess what? They really couldn't.
That's very interesting.
So there's just
Did they ditch Smart? They're still doing Smart?
Well, they sold the franchise to Penske in the U.S. for a while. Now they have it back.
And they're still doing Maybach, and they're still doing Smart.
Well, the Maybach now is
I suppose it's
far more simplistic from a manufacturing standpoint. It is an S-Class, and it's branded Mercedes Maybach. But
that Maybach was not good.
It was, it was one of these under the skin. It was a 140.
Was it really?
It was a 140.
I didn't know.
Yep.
I assumed it was the next one.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I drove one once. We did a segment, me and Dan Neal, for the car show on Speed.
Oh yeah,
remember that shit?
Yeah.
Where we were at Willow Springs, and we had a Maybach and a Bentley Mulsanne.
Oh yeah,
and I don't remember who was driving which, but we were lapping Willow Springs while someone was getting a fucking tattoo in the back of the cars.
Oh my God.
It was a flagrant ripoff of the bit from
Saturday Night Live.
Oh, is that a Saturday Night Live bit?
The Royal Deluxe 3 with Dan Aykroyd and Garrett Morris driving the car.
No way.
With Rabbi Menachem Solheim doing a circumcision in the back.
That's very funny. That's funnier. I thought this was going back to the Jackass movie where someone gets they get an off-road tattoo. Someone gets a tattoo while off-roading, which is a much better bit.
Yeah.
But we did a suspension test, smoothness, to see, who could do it.
Well, this is hard journalism. This is research.
It was hard hitting,
this
for
is
sure.
Investigative
and
journalism.
Dan, because he has much more of a conscience than I do, went all slow and shit. And he was in the Maybach. He went slow, and this girl ended up with a sort of decent looking tattoo.
Oh boy!
And I didn't really care what was going on in the back seat, and I went fast, and the person's tattoo was terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know who the fuck would sign up for that. It's like, dude, like.
Not me.
The person for that, it's like Steve-O or nobody. I mean,
were they paid?
Dennis,
give them $100 to
they were paid
Dennis Rodman.
They were paid something, but like, how much would you have to be paid to do that?
I don't know. Some people need money, man.
That really
That's
need
true.
money. Fucking hell. Wait, so the Maybach was a 140 underneath? How far underneath?
Chassis was mostly 140.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Why?
I think they had started working on that before the 220 came out.
Wow.
I don't know the true full scope answer to that.
They masked it pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if one of those things is that a good used buy at 45 grand for a Maybach 57? No,
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I see them running around. Occasionally, I'll see one in LA, and I go, "Who the fuck is driving that?"
They did have a King Hill stereo in that car, and in fact,
Is that a brand? King Hill?
No.
Oh, that's like a King of the Hill.
King
You
of
just
the Hill,
dropped the of the. Okay.
I did. Yeah.
Who made their stereos?
I don't remember.
Wah. Bad PR guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm no longer PR.
The best car stereo you ever heard. Would it be that?
Pretty tough. I would have to say either that or one of the current Mercedes Burmester systems.
Burmeister. What about I'm a big fan of the 29 speaker Meridian Range Rover crazy stereo where there's fucking speakers all over the ceiling and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they sound as good.
Really?
Yeah.
So you think it's just a visual overload of speakers more so than actual good sound?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of overkill.
At a certain point, I think maybe my ear isn't good enough to tell the difference. I can tell the difference between a not so great stereo and a great stereo. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure I can tell the difference between great stereo A and great stereo B.
Well,
if you have the settings the same.
Great is a bandwidth this wide, too.
Yeah.
So, it could have ridiculous amounts of bass and huge sound pressure levels.
I forgot what car that I just had a car that had like a crazy amount of bass. I can't remember what it was, but I think it was the Aston DB11 that had like a ton of bass.
More often these days, when I get into a car, a test car, I go into, however many thousands of submenus you have to find
Yeah.
to get to the tone controls.
Give me your 3 bars,
And
right?
what
do you like
roll-
your 3 bars at?
And I roll bass down.
You go
It's just
into the negatives on the bass?
Lately I've been like this 911.
Yeah.
I rolled bass down a little bit. I leave everything else alone flat.
I typically do like bass, if we're talking like plus minus 5, right, for the 3 bars, bass, mid, treble, I'll typically go bass at like 0 or maybe -1, mid at mid at probably 0, and treble at like +4, and then I turn volume up because I listen to rock music, so I don't want to get drowned out by the bass drum. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Some people like other wave, other wave. But I think bringing a musician's angle to car stereo judging, is there a way to quantify it? There isn't really, is it?
Well, I mean, words. I mean, if you read the old like stereophile magazines, where what's his face, who was this total audiophile geek, would review equipment. He'd review like a Macintosh tube receiver, and it'd be a 5,000 word review. I'm like, holy shit. That's a little pedantic for me, but in the end, it really just has to sound good to your ear.
Yeah.
You can go. It's like I say with people in cars. What's the fastest car? What's the fastest 0 to 60? What car has the fastest top speed? I always say you can't drive a spec sheet.
Yeah.
Drive the car. You can't.
Well,
drive
people
a spec
ask
sheet.
me about cars, should I get this or this? And I said, well, have you driven them, or can you, it's one thing if it's a car that is not drive, you can't just go and test drive, but oftentimes people ask me about cars, should I get this or this? And they're just regular cars at dealers. And I go, have you driven them? And they go, no, I want to know what you think is better. And I go, I got to tell you, here's a review of car A, here's a review of car B, here's what I think. It's what do you think is better? What I think is better is fucking completely irrelevant. I'm happy to give you the information, and I'm happy to tell you what I think about each car. And if you really want to know which one I would buy, okay, but like which one I would buy is like not a good way to judge what you want to buy.
Yeah. However, I would say that a big portion of my clients, if you want to call them clients, my outlets are straight reviews of normal cars.
Yeah.
And there are some what's the word? There are some absolutes. There are some cars that are better than others in the segment.
Probably.
I mean, there are fewer shitty cars now than ever. There are still some shitty cars.
I don't get asked about really terrible cars very often. No one asks me if they
That
should
kinda
get
takes care of
a
itself.
Mirage or a Rio. It's always Golf R or STI or
Right.
Mustang or Camaro. I mean, it's always an enthusiast, angle.
Yeah.
You probably get like much more normal ones.
I get all of it.
What do you drive? Have you driven anything good recently that's strictly in the normal department that was surprisingly good?
The Accord. The new Accord is brilliant.
Zach Clapman drove the new Accord for us and really liked it. Although he said now that the Civic is really so big, the Accord doesn't even really need to exist.
Well, today's Accord is as big as a 5-year-old 5 Series.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of mission creep. It's interesting how every car gets a little bit bigger.
And then they introduce a smaller one underneath it.
And then there's a vacuum at the bottom.
Yeah.
I don't know why that needs to happen.
Here's this. I don't know. I don't want to say I have an answer, but I have a speculation. I think they send out customer satisfaction forms, right? And everyone, doesn't matter who you are, if you're filling out a satisfaction form, you think your car should have some more room. Everyone does, like Mini. Like they're listening to customers who bought Minis and then complained that their Minis didn't have enough room, so they made them bigger.
Could be. I would not doubt if it's simply an incremental version of bigger is better. This generation was 158 inches long. This one is 161. If we increase the length by 3 inches, we increase the front legroom by 1/4 of an inch. It's better. I mean, it's kind of a human trait to improve by making bigger.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's the case. I don't. Is this Accord better because it's bigger, or is it better than Camry or other competition just because it works better? I think it's better because it works better, not because it's bigger than the older Accord.
Fair. Totally fair. And both things can be true. It can be better
Yes.
than the competition,
Yes.
and it could almost not need to exist because the Civic is now big enough that you can fit a ton of people and shit in it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, you remember the original Civic? How small that friggin' car was?
yeah. I love old Civics.
Yeah.
I love fucking 90s Civics, like late 90s to 2000, 2001 Civics.
CRXs.
Love them. They are so fun.
I saw a little Civic, what is it, 1800 hatchback, like late 70s, the thing that's the size of a shoe.
The CVCC, like the
yeah,
tiny
that one,
little,
one of those on
Those-
PCH
those-
yesterday. I was like, holy shit.
Those they had a 1200 and a 1300 and a 1500.
Yeah.
And the first 5-speed Civic was a 1500, and it had this really cool thing called a tachometer
I remember I read recently
and a wood gear shift knob.
I like the wood gear shift knob. That's good. I read a story recently about the CVCC because it didn't need catalytic converters,
That's
right?
the one.
It passed emissions without catalytic converters because
Yeah.
it had this, complicated system of vacuum hoses and whatever.
It was a funky carburetor on
Yeah,
that thing.
and the head of GM was like, "Nah, we don't need that shit. That's for them tiny little cars, whatever." And Honda got like personally offended, so they bought like an Impala or some shit and brought it over to Japan and installed all this stuff they have on the CVCC on the Impala.
Oh, wow.
And sent it back.
Yeah.
And it fucking passed carb with no cats on it. Like, here you go, fucker. And it's like some giant land yacht in 72 or whatever it is.
Yep.
Whatever with a peak. What was peak choke year? 74? Oil crisis year? Like the peak year of oppressive
the first
choking of power.
The first OPEC oil crisis was 73, but then
Okay.
there was another one in 79.
But when would you say the malaise era was the most malaise? Late 74 to 77 maybe? Something like that. The response to the oil crisis? 74, 77?
The engineering at the domestic car companies were working overtime on just band-aiding things together.
Yeah, garbage.
Because they had all this legislation, all these requirements for emissions, all these requirements for safety, and they were barely trying. Who really cares? But I feel bad for that era of engineer at American car companies because they were hit from all angles at the same time.
Plus, were also garbage.
Well, yeah, and the Japanese car companies were just eating their lunch in sales. I mean, in '74, there were dealerships that had full-size American cars just stacked up like cordwood. Nobody wanted to buy them. Nobody.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. They don't. To me, they seem those cars seem fucking absurd now. Mm-hmm. I was just in.
But you love them for their absurdity.
Oh,
now.
I know. I love them for their absurdity, and when I see them now, I smile out of a sense of novelty, but not out of a sense of appreciation for what they were doing.
Oh no!
It was just in where the fuck just was I? Oh, Kentucky. I was just in Kentucky, and I saw like a really clean Lincoln Mark V. Which Continental Mark V, which it was parked next to like a fucking Suburban, and it was
Longer.
so big. It was so big. Look at the size of this fucking
I think
thing.
that's the Bill Blass edition.
I think maybe, or possibly the Cartier edition.
Cartier.
There was a Cartier edition of this fucking thing.
Oh my god!
And you look at this.
Just look at that. Look at the sunroof. Look at the opera windows. Look at the.
It's so ridiculous. This is from a major manufacturer, like right in the oil crisis.
And that probably had the Lima engine, which is a 460 cubic inch V8.
It had a giant engine. It had no space, and there's no rear seat room in this thing.
No.
It's just so absurd when you look at. You go, well, of course that wasn't going to work. But
However,
now, look at that. See, now you see it.
Yeah.
You see it on the right wheels, maybe some Daytons, or slam it on some Mob Steels or something with some airbags, and it's ironic cool.
But then, even if from there, let's say that's a 78 or 79 car, go 7 years before that, do 71.
Is that a Mark 4?
Those
3? Mark 4?
Mark 3, I think. I'm not sure. But
Is that even bigger?
No, they weren't bigger, but it wasn't the creased and folded bullshit that started happening in the 70s.
It was really ugly. Actually, it's not really ugly. That's okay.
They were pretty.
That's all right.
Pretty decent.
It's what it is though. Honestly, it's a little bland. It's not. I don't think that car really stands out in any particular way.
No, but aesthetically, it works far better than the creased and folded late 70s.
Oh, dude, the late 70s one looks like they took a Crown Vic and then put a bunch of shit on it like Excalibur. like an Excalibur did.
Yeah.
I went to Barrett Jackson earlier this year,
Yeah.
and I was really eyeballing the Continental from the 50s.
Oh yeah.
Really, because they're kind of, I think for what they are, they're going for reasonable money. 30 to 45 grand gets you a pretty nice one. Is that a Mark 1? It's a Mark 2. Yeah, Tim, it's a Continental 56 Continental Mark.
Lincoln, just
Mark
do Lincoln
II.
Continental. It'll come up.
That's
There you
it. Yeah. Look at that. I mean, that is
Very elegant.
that is as pretty as anything that was coming out of Europe during that time.
In fact, it's
Even prettier,
if you
maybe.
put that next to one of the Anglo-American like Ghia bodied American cars,
totally.
that is just right on.
I was gonna say, yeah, Ghia. It looks like a Ghia.
Yeah.
And you put the right.
You park that next to a Fossil Vega.
Yeah.
And
Or like a Delahaye or something, and it's right there.
oh well, those were earlier.
Those were earlier. You're right. Sorry. I stretched it. Can you find one with big Detroit steel wheels on it, Tim? You got to have it on airbags, lowered. No, well, that's a good
it's
one.
lowered.
That's a good one. I like that with wires. I mean, you can it's at the right height.
don't
That
know
looks like a Fossil Vega, actually.
It does.
Sitting lower.
The Fossils had stacked headlights.
But the overall the greenhouse shape and all that stuff was very 50s Grand Tourer Europe.
You know what I love?
I fucking love those things,
Of this
man.
ilk, the 61 and 62 Ford Thunderbirds were
Oh yeah.
really nice, and they were built in the same factory.
Was that the Aerobird 61, 62?
I don't know what the nickname.
The one that was sort of teardrop shaped?
yeah.
Yeah.
It had the jet exhaust tail.
Yeah. Made famous in Bill Bellamy's How to Be a Player. If anybody wants a shit 90s reference.
I confess to not being.
You've
familiar.
never seen How to Be a Player?
No.
Well, you are missing out, sir.
I've missed out on much in life.
One
that's a very
one day I'm gonna have one of those Continentals. It's gonna be fucking fresh. But I'm not doing any more builds after this.
I don't think they ever did a convertible of this either.
They did not. You could probably cut the roof off one, and it makes some people very angry. And
Yeah.
you know what I would do is I would cut a sunroof into it. I'd cut like one of those rollback sunroof. Oh, look at that, Tim. Go to the bottom right of the screen there. All the way to the left side. Left side. Is that Steels? Is that on the right wheels?
No.
That looks awesome. Is that chopped roof? Wow, someone took that and chopped the roof.
I think so.
That looks cool as fuck, dude.
So.
Is that a chopped roof? It is, right? It's not just.
It looks like
it.
it's. It looks like it's.
Yeah, that's really cool.
The
One
other
day.
the Rivieras, the 63 to 5 Rivieras, even
Those are
66
great.
and 7 Rivieras, I love.
I'm a boat tail fan myself.
I don't like the boat tails.
You either love them or you hate them.
The last the last car my grandfather bought was a 63 Riviera before he died, and that was my grandmother owned it up until like 89.
Wow.
She drove it every day.
They were beautiful. Still
Yes.
are. I see them a lot.
Absolutely.
You know where you see them? I see them in like driven in the South Bay by white dudes with dreads. That's where
Serious?
Yeah, I see them in like Hermosa Beach. There's a bunch of early Rivieras that
They were
roll
really
around down there.
They were really popular bagged cars for a long
Yeah.
time.
I mean, what of that era that's that size doesn't look good? My friend Vinny has a 66 Eldorado slammed on bags with steel dish wheels. Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. He lives in Florida. It's a perfect Florida car.
Oh yeah.
We got a couple of questions on Super Chat. Yo, if y'all are watching live right now, you can get in the Super Chat if you want to ask us shit. So to answer Alex's question, I have this Donald Trump helmet. So in like, have you seen this thing, Jim? In like 2011, it just goes back. I'm literally watching The Apprentice, and I go, hey, my open face helmet looks kind of like Donald Trump's hair. And I had his hair painted onto my fucking helmet and wore it as a goof for like a while.
Yeah.
And it stopped being funny at a certain point, as you can imagine. And also the helmet expired and I could not, I couldn't wear it. There it is. I really had him painted really gross with the skin kind of nasty and balding a bit. And fucking Robbie Proto did a really good job on the helmet though.
And it's paint. It's not wrapped.
Oh, that's paint. That's paint. And if you take the visor off, it's painted under the visor as well.
Oh wow.
But Hannah, my fiance, doesn't want it in my house anymore. She doesn't even want to look at it on the shelf. And so
Can't blame her.
I was thinking of like auctioning it off for like, give the money to like the ACLU or somebody who could use it. But someone said I don't know if Bring a Trailer wants to take a stance and auction that off. I'll ask Randy if Bring a Trailer wants to, but I don't think it's an interesting enough item to merit. They auction off like F40 engines. I don't think a helmet.
I saw that.
Yeah, I think it went for a lot of money.
But it had been in like a museum. It had never,
0 mile F40. I think it was like $80,000 or something.
Never assigned to a chassis, right?
Yeah, I think it was on a stand as a display, but fully functional and never run. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's a well bought at $80,000 probably.
I don't know. I'm sure that those cylinders were scored beyond belief. If rings are seated on cylinder walls for that long a period of time.
You think that's not a usable engine?
It would have to be honed to they'd have to overbore that pretty significantly.
You think so?
I think so.
That would be a shame. Does it have pistons in it? Or
I assume it had. I assume
it had pistons in it, but that's an interesting idea. But if an F40 is worth $1.2 million, I mean, if you blow a motor, where do you get another one?
I mean, you can't find a spare motor, so
yeah. I mean, I think just having it, right?
Yeah.
You just want to have it.
Yeah. True.
That's fucking crazy.
Very true.
It's so crazy. Yeah. Busy Ezrioha, who builds those crazy turbo Porsches, he is like hoarding 5-speed Boxster gearboxes because you can't get them anymore.
Oh yeah.
And he's like people basically throw them away. They don't really, they blow the motor and the cars get thrown away. He's like, but you just can't get them. So he's got like racks of them on the walls. Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting a fun Porsche lately.
I recommend it.
Yeah,
but sooner rather than later.
I know. Well, I would have to sell a couple of cars because I want it to be a revenue neutral transaction.
Oh, I feel you. What are you sitting on right now? Can we discuss?
Sure. I have an old 240Z that I restored.
Lovely. You restored, hands-on restored?
Me and some other folks. But it's not all original. It was all original. I put an L28 in it, a 2.8 liter motor and fuel injection.
That's the later one, right?
Yeah. 2.8 liter from a 280Z, and individual throttle body fuel injection and
that probably sounds good.
Oh yeah,
sound nice when you wind it up.
Yeah, it's not fully done yet though because it has an adjustable cam sprocket on it, and it's been advanced. So once I get my hands on it again, that'll be fixed and it'll make more power. It made 188 at 5,300 RPM.
That's not so bad. Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
What does it weigh? 2,500 pounds, right?
2,355.
Yeah. Oh, that's plenty. That's going to be a good time.
The weird thing about that car was it was originally sold in Switzerland, of all places.
Really?
A guy who was there at the time, actually, got relocated. He worked for Honeywell, an engineering company, and he was relocated to the U.S. And
so was it in kilometers?
Originally, yeah, I have the original speedometer, but it was switched over.
It was converted.
Yeah, but it does have some oddball stuff on it. Some very minor but oddball stuff, like the turn signals are not under.
There's this gold with this swastikas, and I don't understand.
Krugerrands in the trunk. Yeah. But it has like 240s and 260s had the turn signals under the bumper.
Okay.
This has steel metal panels there. No turn signals, and the turn signals were these shitty little fog light looking things that were parked on top of the bumper.
Oh, that's odd. And it doesn't match. Does that match a Euro spec car?
It's Euro.
Oh, okay, all right. So it's standard for Euro spec.
Some markets, like England and Germany. Some of the other European markets.
Just evidence of what? Lack of consistency in regulations at the time?
Yes, because there was a regulation that turn signals could not, in the German market anyway, I think, turn signals could not live under the bumpers.
Oh, okay.
That's why, like, the original Porsche 911s, the turn signals were on top of the bumpers.
Oh, yeah. So do people at Z-Fest look at you like it's weird?
I haven't taken it out. It's not quite done yet.
All right, what else you got?
That E55.
Oh, so you know about the E55?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the four-eyed one, right? The boxy four-eyed one?
Yeah.
Yeah, like an 01?
210, yeah.
Like tanks.
Oh, yeah, tanks. And they're not really valuable, or at least not yet. But
I think they were overshadowed by the supercharged cars.
That, and they were overshadowed by the M5 at the time, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember them being nice. Remember that the Korn video? The Got the Life video?
No.
Oh, dude, yeah. Were you...
That's a 99. That's a pre-facelift car. But that's the car.
Yeah. There's a band called Korn.
Yeah.
You know that band?
Yeah,
They had
they're
a
from
song called
Orange County, I think.
Yeah, they had a song called "Got the Life," which was basically about them being rich ballers, and he's driving around in a black E55. That's it. It hasn't really aged well in terms of being ballerific, but
Well, I think they need to do a remake.
They should. They should do a new one.
They can buy my car.
Yeah, but I think the slab-sided Benzes are really kind of coming into their own as people realize A, how much it costs to maintain an E39 M5, and B, people are starting to appreciate the idea of collector cars as like city cars as opposed to just being sports cars. I think the idea of a collectible cruiser instead of just, a hardcore track or canyon machine is becoming more appealing.
And that's the thing about
That one's got like some lowering springs on it, right?
Oh yeah, and
Little
different aftermarket.
It's got
wheels.
monoblocks.
Those are like 20-inch wheels or something.
It looks good though, not gonna lie.
Those are maybe Lawrencer wheels, I think.
There's a guy who parks in the lot by my house who's got Brabus wheels on a black on black. It's all blacked out trim and the Brabus wheels. It looks fucking hot. I like it.
The thing about these is, compared to especially that M5 of the time, which is mechanically a little more challenging, there's nothing on that car that's really special mechanically.
Yeah.
It's the same, essentially the same motor as the one that's in your car, but with two throttle bodies.
And bored out a little bit, right?
Yeah, 5.4 liters.
Yeah. But then it's just like brakes and shit off the S-Class, right?
Big brakes, nothing special suspension-wise. In fact, they're not great track cars.
Why
they're
would
just
they be?
Great Autobahn cars.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, I've driven to LA a bunch, and
They didn't give a fuck about racetracks in 2000. This was like straight line. It's got an old school automatic. What would you want to do with that on a racetrack anyway?
Yeah.
That'd stink.
torque converter. Automatic.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about my SL on a racetrack. What a disaster that would be.
Oh yeah.
Is it the new M5 torque converter?
It is, but
different shit.
2018. ZF 8-speed torque converter.
There's a world of difference between transmissions from that era.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's coming back.
Yeah, because they figured out they started with they hit the power limit of DCTs, I think, and then also they just realized that the autos are smoother in the street and they can make them shift fast enough.
They can do both.
Yeah,
no, they couldn't.
They're a little behind the dual clutches in the sport department. I don't love that, but I don't know. I really think that with the M cars specifically, like what really separated that M feel in some cases was that dual clutch transmission. To go from an automatic 5 Series to a dual clutch M5, there's not just an increase in power. There's a big difference in response and feel, and so the loss of that to me is very sad. It's very sad.
Did you ever get to drive one of the original SMG M3s?
Yeah. Yuck.
Those were, I mean, it was really sophisticated back then and pretty innovative and remarkable, but as an everyday device,
awful. Well, I have an old Vanquish and I took the fucking shit off it and we had it converted to stick.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
In 03. We sent it to England.
Which transmission?
It's a Tremec. It's just a Tremec T56. It has Viper gearing.
Awesome.
And it's a stock one. They just use a stock one. All you do is take the shifting robot off and put in a shifter, put in a proper pedal box. The hard part is, reprogramming the engine to work with a manual, and also
you got to come up with a flywheel too instead of a flex plate.
Yeah. And they also remake the center console to get rid of the buttons. But it's the best. Now I have a V12 stick. And
is that here or back east?
It's in Connecticut.
Okay.
It's stupid expensive, but it's worth it. It's so worth it.
My
car's so good.
My brother still lives in Connecticut, so I'll have to see it.
The car is so fucking nice with the stick. I mean,
and that's the 6-liter V12, right?
Yeah. And it's
which is the twin Duratec thing.
Yeah, it's 2 3-liter Duratec stuck together, which means it works. It's super reliable. It makes a ton of power. Yeah, it has the stupid it was the vacuum baffles, not the electronic baffles. And all I did was when they did the gearbox, I had them just wire them open. So it's full loud all the time. And it's brilliant. It's not good. I took it on a racetrack one time. It was a nightmare.
Oh, really?
It was the worst. Yeah.
Why?
I don't
heavy?
think heavy. The weight distribution wasn't good. It's got these big fucking brakes, but it has like .3 fluid, and it doesn't have the right pads for that. And you maybe could do something with it, but
you hadn't prepped it for the track.
No. And I was like,
what track?
Monticello.
Oh.
And not like an easy track either.
No.
It was horrible. And but as a highway tourer and a cruise around Greenwich, it's the best.
Yeah.
What else? I saw some other super chat questions today.
We had this.
Oh, Eddie. What did Eddie say? I'm in the market for a CTSV wagon. Man of taste.
There's one on Bring a Trailer right now.
There is one on Bring a Trailer right now. Budget says I might need to buy a higher mileage one. What kind of issues would I have with the LSA or in general Cadillac?
Clutch.
Is that, you know that for sure?
No, I'm just
guessing.
Just grasping at straws. I mean, if it's with that amount of power, with that weight, in that type of car, it's just gonna need a clutch.
Yeah, and
and maybe I don't know how those drive shafts are, but when you're making that much power over 80,000 miles, the rest of the driveline kind of suffers. Maybe some diff. Maybe you may have some diff noise.
Yeah. I don't know of any specific issues that those cars have. Like, they grenade. Bleh. I don't have one of those. LSA is a stout engine in general. It's not overkill from the factory. It's a reasonable motor. I would just assume it needs all the consumables. So
exactly.
Assume it needs a ton of whole new oil, all new trans fluid, all new diff fluid, all new filters, all new brake pads. Assume all that.
I would also flush the coolant system.
Yeah. I would definitely do, and if you do all that, you should be okay. I think.
Yes, let's just.
But they're fucking awesome
say
cars.
it right now. He'll be okay.
They're awesome cars. I think you'd be okay.
Car.
Yeah, I would definitely have it inspected by a professional for sure.
Yeah,
PPI, good, best $300 you can spend.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a big world in PPIs for that type of car or like the supercharged Corvettes, but they're not complicated. They're no more complicated than anything else.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where you are, but look for the usual salt, rust kind of shit. But they're not that old. But I think I haven't heard any super horror stories about them, which is good. Yeah. And I have heard, you hear about the M3s and the rod bearings and shit. Like I haven't heard any of that.
Right.
No crazy like don't get one because I haven't heard any of that.
Or the oiling of M motors from the early 2000s. Too.
Yeah,
that was a nightmare.
I think you'd probably be okay. Just don't buy one that's super super beat. And I haven't seen one with like a lot of miles on it, so I don't know what the interiors hold up like. I think that's going to be a judgment call.
Yeah, that's aesthetic though.
Yeah. Let's see. Rymiv has been driving a 300,000 mile 2001 Accord for years. Good for you. Looking for a fun used daily with a V8 and a stick for 12 to 13,000. C5 Corvette or 0509 Mustang. Also open to other suggestions.
Pontiac GTO.
I think a GTO is the most car you're going to get with a V8 and a stick.
That's got a very well sorted suspension.
Yeah.
You'd need to do springs and shocks and bushings and stuff, but
the geometries.
Exactly. The geometry of that car is it's a little plain looking, but I actually like that.
It's because it's plain looking, it flies under the radar a lot. It's better made than a C5 Corvette, and if you buy a 6-liter, it's just as fast.
Yeah,
it's way faster than an 0509 Mustang,
and they're built better.
Yeah, if you're down with how a GTO looks, I would start there. Yeah, that's where I'd start. Otherwise, a C5 is a nice. I had a C5. It's pretty stout. You need aftermarket seats because the stock seats are a disaster.
Yeah, they flex all over the place.
Yeah, and 05 to 09 Mustangs are loud and slow. be advised.
I mean, I just don't like any Mustang with a live axle in the rear. That's
fair. I've driven some that are very well sorted. Like Maximum Motorsports has a solid axle kit.
If it's dedicated to the track, great. But as far as compromise for the street, they do bounce. Ford never was able to figure that out until they started Mustang production in '64, and they never figured out that whole thing until like late '90s.
Yeah, and some like the Boss 302 was pretty good. I mean, they did a decent job by the very end of making it as good as it was gonna be.
One of the magazines we did when I was at CSK doing Vet magazine, one of the sister publications to Vet was Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords.
Oh yeah,
and I
read that when I was a kid.
I used to joke that look at the Mustang, man. They've got 4 shocks in the back and it still doesn't work because they had that quad shock thing. The 2 shocks were horizontal and 2 were vertical.
Yeah. Well, my Mustang is an IRS, so
perfect.
I have an 04 Cobra. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, but okay, I think that's some good suggestions there. Kyle, I drove your 135i with red wheels. Oh yeah, I remember that. I drove it in Malibu. I remember that. Thinking of a 2014 E63S What are your thoughts on these overall and reliability-wise? Are they only fast going straight, or can they handle a bit? What do you say, Jim? 2014 E63S. That's the 500 horsepower V8, I believe, NA engine.
Yeah, that's a normally aspirated engine.
Right?
That's a brilliant engine, by the way.
I think 15 was the twin turbo motor, right?
Yeah, you're probably right.
I think it's. Can you look up 2014 E63S horsepower? If it's 507, it's gonna be the. It's the. What does it say?
557.
Oh, that's supercharged.
Excuse me, 577.
That's supercharged. Or twin turbo. Twin turbo. Okay, so that's the twin turbo one.
Okay.
No, the head studs issue was the NA one only. I think that the twin turbo 5.5 liters are good.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
But to sort of answer the general question there, those cars handle as well as any sedan that weighs as much as that thing does. It's not going to handle like a Lotus, but it also doesn't handle like a sedan DeVille Brome d'Elegance.
Well, this dude's coming out of a modified 135 that handles pretty good. So I'm pretty sure he knows what he's getting into.
Yeah, this car weighs at least 1,000 pounds more than that.
Yeah, they can He says, can they handle a bit? The answer is yes. They can handle a bit.
Yes.
And if you're driving one through the canyons, you can have a good time in it. The gearboxes in them are reasonably responsive. I think it's a 7-speed, so as long as you stay off the rev limiter, they're fine. Yeah. They can handle a bit. They are not as good as your 135, and they're not as good as a real sports car. But yes, they can handle. They are fun.
You'll heat up the brakes pretty often.
That too. You can do some, but you can get pads and fluid for those things. But I would say call Rentec, because with like 3 parts, you can make like 800 horsepower with that motor. You could do exhaust tune and intercoolers, and you can make like a plus 150 easy in those things. I drove Rentec's CLS 63 that had intake, exhaust, intercooler, up pipes, and a tune, and like maybe like a diff cooler and trans cooler, and the fucking thing runs 9s on drag slicks. Awesome. Full interior car, no cage, nothing.
Wow.
It was badass.
Just it's just flat out bizarre where we are with that level of performance these days in street cars.
Oh my God! Have you driven the newest level of supercars? You driven like a 720S or anything like that?
I haven't driven the 720 yet. I drove the 570 S. I've driven the. I just had the AMG GTR.
Oh, how was that? How was the GTR?
Brilliant on the track.
It
beats the hell out of you on the street.
The regular GTS was stiff on the street.
Yeah, and the GTR is even stiffer. I mean, for a car that has a front engine and rear drive and a really long wheelbase, that thing works better than anything before it or since in that kind of a form factor.
Yeah.
But I drove it from Phoenix down to Tucson. I did Mount Lemmon Road, which is this sort of mountain road that goes up to about 8,000 feet, just north of Tucson.
Mount Lemmon Road?
Mount Lemmon.
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
There's actually a ski resort up there.
Is it closer to Tucson or Phoenix?
Tucson.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just north and east of Tucson. And the car was brilliant. And then I took it to I have an arrangement with Bondurant. I can test there when I really need to.
Arrangement.
And drove it on track there. And the car, I mean, it was 115 degrees that day, and the car did not feign at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't affected by the heat at all, even the brakes. And that's a 3,400 pound car.
I mean, it looks good. I like how it looks a lot. I like how it sounds a lot. I'd like to have a go. Mercedes, Deidre, you out there? Hook your brother up. Christian. Is Christian Bukich still rocking there?
Deidre's gone. Christian's
still there.
No, but he's not in PR anymore.
Oh, he's not? What's he doing?
He went to accessories.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. But you know...
is it Rob Moran?
Well, yeah, he's head of the department, but the guy who was out here, Mike Mignelli.
Oh, I think I know him.
He's Christian's replacement, so he's part of PR now.
Yeah, get me in a GTR. I want to drive that thing.
They're actually doing a C63 event right now at Bilsterberg.
I love Bilsterberg.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
I've never been there.
Dude, that track is crazy.
Yeah.
Tim, can you pull up a picture of Bilsterberg? It's 2 words. Bilster space BERG. And it is this ridiculous racetrack.
A lot of elevation change from what
so much elevation change. Like, can you see if we can get a picture that really shows they have a fucking corner there that is like the drop off at Laguna Seca, but so much steeper. And instead of continuing down, it goes back up the other side.
Is that a left or a right?
It's a left. It's a left down a bowl.
Yeah.
There it is. Look at that hill you drive off. It's a pretty big drop off.
You fall off the side of the earth.
It continues going down. It's bigger than Laguna. It's wild. It would be a kind of a scary place.
Is it a long overall track? Long length?
I think it's pull up that map, Tim. I think it's does it say in the oh boy, it's all gone wrong. I think it's probably like 2 point something to 3 miles. Picture it like does it say there? Look how many corners there are.
4.207
kilometers.
meters per. I don't know.
4.2, so it's like high twos.
Like 2.9 or 3, but there's so many corners.
Yeah.
And if you see in that image, the bottom left, there's a corkscrew.
Oh wow.
Crazy track, super fun. If you, I think it's semi-private.
Yeah, I did. Speaking of semi-private, I did a race weekend in that in an Audi R8 LMS GT4 car.
Really?
At Thermal. I had never been to Thermal before.
That's a lot of car for that track. It's not a very long racetrack.
This they strung everything together. It was the first time they strung everything together.
Oh, was it the longest possible configuration?
4.1 or 4.4
Oh shit! At Thermal?
24 corners.
Thermal's. Can you get a picture of the Thermal Club circuit, Tim? Thermal is so funny because it's like a game board. They bought a square piece of property, and then they crammed as much racetrack in the look. It's like a Monopoly board or something where you can you zoom in on that?
So I had never been there before, so I'm learning the track.
So it's all crammed into this one property.
Learning the car, and but I was lucky enough to have a full proper team in support of what I was doing, and even a driver coach. Jeff
Who's your coach?
Jeff Westfall.
Oh, yeah, I know Jeff.
Who's the actually development driver for Clicking House.
I know Jeff. He's great.
So it was, and it's a weekend like I probably will never experience again.
So were you experiencing their customer racing program? Is that what you were doing?
It was as if I was a customer. So we had to set up the car. We had full data coming off the car. And it was the car is actually then it was still owned by Audi. It was Brad Kettler's one of Brad Kettler's
cool
inventory. Darren Jorgensen bought the car right there actually during the event, I think, and it was a huge experience. So I wrote a story. It's not out yet. But,
who'd you write it for?
Wired.
Awesome. That's so. You got a whole weekend. You got the full deal.
Thursday through.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
So how much from your first laps? Beyond your getting to know you laps, from your first laps to your last laps, how much did the coach improve you?
Did
it work like that, or did you actually race? Was there a wheel-to-wheel race?
Yeah.
Oh, there was.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So Thursday was spent just setting the car up because it had no setup, literally from when it came out from Indianapolis or Indiana from Kettler's place in the Midwest. And we thought originally it was going to have some sort of a nominal setup on it, but he had 6 inches of snow on the ground when he left his shop, so it had nothing. So we spent the better part of a day setting the car up, completely changing everything, changing ride height, spring rates, damping, roll rates.
And are you giving feedback on that, or was Jeff lapping the car?
No, that was Jeff.
That
was Jeff.
Well, I didn't know if you were, some journalists, as a couple, are, Randy is one, Chris Harris is one.
Oh, yeah.
That are at that level where they can go take a car out and come back and go 2 clicks on that shock.
There's no way I could have done that to the level of professionalism that Jeff did. I mean, Jeff, he's an engineer and he knows it backwards and forwards and sideways. Plus, he knows the car pretty well, and he knows the team. The crew chief, Neville Agas, a New Zealander, they got along great.
You definitely want a New Zealander running the repair department. Fucking for sure, dude. They get shit done.
Yeah.
They'll fucking cast their own aluminum in a shed back there if they have to.
Neville was so cool. And after the weekend, Jeff and Darren both asked me, so how was your experience? What do you think? And I said, obviously it was fantastic, but one thing over everything else, Neville, I love that man.
Yeah.
I literally love that man. He was just fantastic.
So so you get Friday was set up, and then what happens Saturday and Sunday?
Saturday race, Sunday race.
Oh, 2 races.
Yeah, it was 2 races.
And how long is the race? Is it a sprint race?
An hour.
Okay.
No, sorry, half hour.
Half hour. Oh, so it's a sprint race.
Yeah.
How many cars on the grid?
There were a bunch. There were like 20-something cars. 20,
That's a good race.
24 cars.
And what were some of the other cars that you saw?
Cayman GT4s. 911.
Pull this picture up, by the way, Tim. This is the inside of the Thermal Club. Thermal Club has the best fucking racetrack food I've ever had in my life.
Well, it's a country club for cars.
It's a total country club.
Yeah, the food was great, and they also have healthy food too.
They do have healthy food, yeah. So it's Cayman GT4s and the R8s, and then you got what else?
911s.
Okay.
A shitload of 911s. Lamborghinis.
Like Super Trofeos?
There was 2 guys running Super Trofeos. I think it was 2 guys.
These guys don't fuck around out there. This is a real race.
The guy who qualified first and won the first race was driving a black Lamborghini. Was it a Super Trofeo or was it a Aventador? But he's a Russian guy.
Aventador?
Yeah.
A guy won a circuit race in an Aventador?
I don't remember.
Fucking kidding me with that.
It was black.
It's got to be
It
has to
and
be a
fast.
Huracan Super Trofeo. There's
I guess.
almost no fucking way someone's actually racing an Aventador. Can you Google Thermal Club Aventador race car and just see if anything comes up?
But the guy was Russian.
Of course he was.
Well after the race, I was in the men's room, in the changing room, which has showers and
It's fucking nice.
nice smelling soap and stuff.
Really, really nice.
Anyway, I'm standing there either changing or going to the bathroom, taking a pee, something like that, and he introduces himself, and it's like I feel like I'm racing with Putin or something like that.
Yeah. What did he do? Did he tell
Oh,
you?
he was fine. He was great. I think his name was, I don't remember what his name was.
Alexei.
It wasn't Alexei.
Georg. I don't know. I don't fucking know.
That's an M1.
That is an one.
Anyway, so
So you do 2 races. Okay.
I didn't do the second race
Okay.
because they needed to ship the car out to a customer who was going to race it at the St. Petersburg race.
Gangster.
So, who the hell am I to hold up a car?
So if you're a customer and that's your weekend, what does that cost?
Nobody would give me a figure, but I
won't even say.
I don't even. I think that weekend was probably worth, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 grand.
I was going to say 75.
Yeah.
A practice day with coaching and 2 races to me is 75.
Data, team.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this was one of 4 cars that GMG was running, Global Motorsports.
Oh
Group.
yeah, I know GMG.
They were great. Everybody was great. The track people were great.
Thermal is awesome, dude. When I went out there with Mazda to test the ND MX-5 Cup, while I was there, Mazda had the track for the day, and while I was there, they were like, "You want to run your car?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I just pulled my Focus RS around, and dude, I pulled the Focus RS up, and I started like putting some cameras together and whatever, and the track guys like swarmed my car and cleaned my windshield and put a transponder on and got my helmet out of the bag and put it in the thing.
Was Dean Case part
It
of that
was
deal?
crazy. Dean was there.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Dean's a good guy.
Very, very nice man. Yes. And the NDMX5 Cup was a really great car for that circuit.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, even if you linking all the courses together is really, really neat. But can you go back to that track map, Tim, if you can find it?
Thermal
There it is.
full circuit.
There it is. So you got your 3 circuits, which if you look on this map carefully, it's easy to link them together. But it's not to me about that. It's just there's no long straightaways in this. It's all very short sections.
Well, I don't know about that. This is pretty long, and this is not actually a full straight, but this was all connected. So, and we use this.
No, like it's okay. I just mean like I've driven a few different cars at Thermal, ranging from a regular base ND Miata to a full-on race car. And I found that track was best suited to like a car of like, 200 to 300 horsepower, not 500 or 600 horsepower.
Which configuration?
I drove what they called the Desert Palms, which is if you're looking at the
upper
2,
the
upper 2, you just the upper 2 sections. So
so this and that.
Yeah, it's like a T. Yeah. They just missed the bottom one, and so I don't remember. I think my lap time was 2:05 11 around that in my Focus RS, I think. It's a great place. Oh, I drove the STI RA there and shit. But I think if you have a really, really fast car there, it gets small quickly.
It might. The only car I've ever driven there was the R8, so
Yeah.
I have no sort of framework.
Did it feel like a small course in a fast car?
No,
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
but I've only driven one car, so
All right, we got to get you in something slow there, and then we'll compare.
yeah.
I'm
down with that.
dude. It's worth it for the food alone.
Yeah.
The food is so good there.
Also, the whole thing came about. That whole opportunity came about after a discussion with a couple of guys at Con Media. Dan Con.
Yeah.
So shout out to those guys. They helped.
Why aren't they
fucking?
fucking hooking me up with this shit? Come on, Dan.
Do you have a racing license?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was racing last weekend, AER in Kentucky, with the Road and Track guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was sweet.
Cool.
We did data. I had Kevin Madsen out there.
What car?
Doing it. NC MX5 Cup.
Okay.
In an endurance race, 4 drivers.
More legroom.
We modified because it's Jack and Charlie's car, and they're tall, and we tend to have a team of tall people. I race a lot, and this dude Mental Ward is tall.
I'm 6'1", dude.
Yeah, and so they modified the driver's compartment. And
Hook a brother up.
And you want to come race with us?
Yeah.
Dude, you'd fit in this car great.
Yeah.
It's a fun car.
Yeah.
And it's really
Miatas are.
we're in contention for a victory every single time we race. Like shit happens sometimes, but we almost always have some of the best drivers. And
So it's Jack and who else?
Jack and his wife Charlie, me,
Yeah.
and then the fourth spot is usually taken by either Christian Mental Ward, who is an Air Force pilot, that's his call sign, Mental, and he's fucking nuts, or we had Kevin Madsen, who's a racing driver, there running laps and instructing us with the data and stuff.
Does Smith ever go with you guys?
Sam Smith
Okay.
has been to some. Travis Akulski has raced at a couple of them. It's always road and track
Travis
people.
is tall too.
Travis is tall, yeah, and Sam needs to have pads put in. Let's end the
But he's
show.
a lot of fun in a small package.
Oh my God, I love Sam.
Yeah.
I love Sam. Last question of the day, and then we'll wrap this one up. Charles says, I want to build a Z car, but I have a Roadster. When will they get the credit they deserve? Do you mean he means a modern Z?
If you mean a modern
He
Z,
must mean a modern Z.
Yeah.
And has a Roadster.
Well, the thing about the modern Z Roadsters is they weigh the same amount as like that E63S sedan. They're just everything. They weigh everything, and they're not that structurally stiff. So if you want to build one of those as a hot rod,
Got a lot of work cut out for you.
exactly.
I have driven 350 and 370Zs. I'm not a huge fan of them.
I'm not either. And I
However-
love old Zs. I have one.
However, I've driven a few that have really nice, not super expensive setups where a certain combination of exhaust, ETU tune, and shock tuning and good alignment has resulted in something that is very playful and fun to drive.
Oh, yeah.
And you can explore the limits of oversteer and understeer.
Fun per dollar is amazing with the coupes.
Yes, with the coupes.
That Generation Z, it's very strange. There's some sort of harmonic vibration through the transmission, through the gear lever, which if you're on the track or if you're driving it a long time in traffic, it just does something to your palm. It's like, I don't know.
The
what
shifter
hell's going on.
vibrates.
It vibrates like fucking crazy.
Yeah, the shifter vibrates.
And
it's really annoying.
very
I'm with
annoying.
you. Totally with you.
Yeah. And I don't know what that is.
I don't know why it has to do that. I'll say something nice about the Z. My friend Naoki runs a school called Drift 101. It's up at Willow Springs, and he teaches drifting. They got a big skid pad up there, and he has a couple of 240 SXs that are like the intro car, and then his advanced car is a 350Z. That is a stock powertrain, but a welded diff, an angle kit, and an HKS intercooled supercharger. That is all.
Wow.
And this car gets the shit beat out of it by students in low speed, high temperature drifting circumstances.
Yeah.
And according to Naoki, it never breaks.
I believe it.
So
It's probably the suspension's got to be set up for
The suspension's set up for drifting, but I'm just in a powertrain, stock gearbox, stock diff welded, no extra coolers and shit, and a centrifugal little snail blower.
Yeah.
And this thing makes pretty big power, and it doesn't break in the heat. And so that is a plus.
Yeah.
But why don't the Roadsters get love? Because they're heavy and flexible. Okay, I got a convertible. It's also heavy and flexible. The difference, with my SL,
It's like me. I'm heavy and flexible.
with my boxy SL, the when you put the hard top on, you don't just like clip it on. It's like hydraulically, on. The chassis rigidity with it on versus off is like so different.
Yeah, but that SL was the first with the deployable roll bar.
Yes, it is. And I look cool because I keep it up when I drive around the top down. Like a boss. We went long on this one. That's how. What did I say before the show? If
Said 90 minutes.
I said 90 minutes, and it's been almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I told you if you sucked, it was only going to be an hour.
Yeah.
That's how you know. And it's been 2 hours. That means you're good.
Success.
You can read Jim Resnick's piece about the Audi in Wired. What else do you have coming out? Plug anything you like.
I do a variety of things for a variety of outlets. I write for the New York Daily News. I write for Wired, for Ars Technica, which is a sister, well, not really sister site, but it's another Condé Nast site. Motor Authority and Car Connection. Got a couple things coming up for them.
The true freelancer.
Yeah, I did the Volkswagen Pikes Peak thing for them.
Pikes Peak is awesome.
That
I
was
need to go.
Seeing that car run at Pikes Peak was. It just ran at Goodwood too.
Yeah, I saw it. He almost fucking lost it at Goodwood.
Yeah.
You see that video?
That car
Woo!
was the
He
most.
got squirrely and almost took out like a crowd.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was bizarre because it's making somewhere between 500 and 600 equivalent 500 600 horsepower, something like that, but it just shoots out of the starting line at Pikes Peak, and it's like a jet that has no lag.
Yeah.
It just it was really
The video of it is
remarkable.
insane to watch video of it.
Yeah.
Is there onboard yet?
Yes.
They released onboard, right?
Yeah, Volkswagen had a bunch of stuff.
I've not watched the onboard yet, but just the footage from passersby was crazy.
Yeah, and they crushed the record. They
Yeah.
crushed.
Yeah.
the record.
Although I missed the dirt though. I
Yeah.
know it's such a, I know Pikes Peak is going to be the new thing for innovation. It's going to be like America's, Nürburgring, and it's where rules don't really matter and you just build the craziest thing you can build.
I've heard that too. I don't know if I buy that it's going to be America's Nürburgring.
Maybe not America's Nürburgring because but the place where people can innovate outside of rules, equalizing rules.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's. It's the only place to do any kind of open class racing.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not wheel to wheel. It's a hill climb.
Of course. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I missed dirt a little bit. I thought dirt was cool.
Yeah, dirt is cool. And those records stand because they're
forever.
They're dirt. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Thank
appreciate it. You must return next time you're in town.
I'm here fairly often.
For those of you listening live, this Thursday I'll be in Sacramento at the California Auto Museum. Come by. I'll be rolling up in Sharkworks' GT4 with the shorty gears. It's gonna be sweet. And that's it. You know where to find the things. You know what to do. We're not gonna shove the plugs down your throat on this one. Read Jim stuff. That's the only plug I want to give today. All right. Have a good day. That was a morning show for once in a while. Oh my left. I got this PRP thing yesterday. Platelet-rich plasma to cure tendonitis, but I can't move my arm.
Or you're
properly.
juicing your blood like Serena Williams?
Yeah, to fucking fix myself because I'm broken. I suck. All right. I'll see y'all later. Have a good day. Peace out.
Ciao for now.